start that second game, and once again, around 10:35, I'll have someone come in here and let you guys know when to start talking. Okay. Is Keith coming back soon, or?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter, though, because I just got to do that read, and then we'll go into commercials. So.
Okay, yeah. All right. And when we go into commercials, just pop these two out, because it was giving it fuzz.
Right
yeah.
Go ahead and unplug it. It's projecting right now.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
And welcome back here to Corbett Soccer Stadium on the campus of the University of South Florida. We said we were going to play two. It took a little longer than we expected, but we are indeed going to do it. And now we've got the USF Bulls men's soccer team welcoming their neighbors from Florida Gulf Coast as we roll on right here on NSCAATV.com. And welcome back to the broadcast booth right here at Corbett Soccer Stadium. Dean Linke, delighted to be with you for Game 2 here between the USF men and Florida Gulf Coast. Before we get things started and bring back Keith Tabatsik, though, let's take a look at the NSCAA Continental Tire Top 10 on the men's side, and it's the Indiana Hoosiers, the reigning champions at number 1. They've got a big weekend. Indeed, they have SMU tonight, and then they'll have UCLA on Sunday. UCLA's at number 9. They've got Notre Dame tonight, and then, of course, the number 1 team in the country on Sunday as well. Rounding out the top 10 is Akron at number 8, and then Louisville right behind UCLA at number 10. Your top 10 is presented by Continental Tire, innovative technology, driving confidence. Find out more at continentaltire.com, and to view the full top 25, visit NSCAATV.com. And still with me, the longtime Georgetown coach, Keith Tabatsik. And Keith, they're going to play two a little later than expected, but it's going to be a good one. USF, Florida Gulf Coast, these two teams know each other pretty well.
Yeah, they know each other, and they're used to rain delays down here in Florida as well. But both teams, first game of the season, what a great start for them, and a really good story as well, because both teams met twice last year, but the second time was in the NCAA tournament where South Florida advanced on penalty kicks, a 0-0 game. South Florida only 8-6-4 last year. They actually didn't even make the Big East tournament, gotten that large bid. But George Kiefer is very excited about the team he brings in this year, and they always entertain. Bob Buthorn, he started the program at Florida Gulf Coast. He said he was going to get them to the NCAA tournament within 5 years, and he did. 11-5-3 last year, and now a team that you're always expecting to be in there. They also entertain. It will be very interesting to see who can control the field today.
Well, it's funny when you think about George Kiefer's USF team, you automatically want to think about all their attacking players, but they attack out of the back, right back and left back, very strong. Ben Sweat, one of the best outside backs in the country.
Yeah, and Ben Sweat, as a senior, he's going to be leading this team, and it's funny, you lead the team from the left back position. He had 2 game-winning goals last year. He was the preseason conference Defensive Player of the Year for the American Athletic Conference, the first game for the American Athletic Conference here for South Florida, and he's most definitely a prospect that MLS scouts will be looking at.
Meanwhile, Bob Buthorn for Florida Gulf Coast, a team with mostly sophomores. Who do you like in that lineup?
Well, there's a lot of similar players, but there's one guy that kind of makes the rest look better when he's on, and that's David Robledo. And David is one of these players that the more the ball goes through and the better Florida Gulf Coast is, and I think that if this will be the challenge actually for South Florida tonight. Can they stop the ball from getting to him? Because if we see him on the ball a lot, this FC Dallas Academy product is going to show us why he's one of the bright young stars of college soccer this year.
George Kiefer, one of the bright young coaches, now in his 12th season at USF, and we caught up with him moments ago.
The keys for us tonight, both teams like to keep possession of the ball. So if we're on the ball and we have more of the ball and we're attacking more, I feel like we'll be in good shape tonight.
Right. Okay. Okay, ready? Okay. Really excited about the opportunity tonight. It's a great environment. They do a great job here with the production. We're excited about just playing in a kind of a rivalry with USF, and they have a very good team. George does a great job with his guys. And
today's coaches interviews are presented by Shattuck St. Mary's, a college prep school with a full-time residential soccer center for boys and girls, and a member of the U.S. Soccer Development Academy. To learn more, visit www.s-sm.org. Getting ready for George Kiefer's USF Bulls and Bob Butorn's Florida Gulf Coast. And it's going to be right here on NSCAA TV right after this.
Tra la la tra la pleasure.
Each year, the NSCAA puts over 7,000 coaches through our coaching education program. Youth, high school, and college coaches at all levels participate in the diploma courses. Join your peers and get educated. Better coaching, better players, better game. NSCAA Coaching Academy. Improving soccer, one coach at a time. Register today at nscaa.com/education.
Welcome back to NSCAATV.com as we get ready for USF and Florida Gulf Coast. The Eagles taking on the Bulls right here at Corbett Soccer Stadium. I want to remind everybody that this broadcast of the match is presented by the National Soccer Coaches Association of America. The NSCAA works every day to inspire coaches and ignite their passion for the game so they pass it on to players and others in the soccer community. That goal is fulfilled through 3 core values: learn, participate, belong. To learn more, visit nscaa.com. Tonight's game is presented by our good friends from Continental Tire. Continental Tire, the presenting sponsor of College Soccer Night on nscaatv.com. Time now to take a look at the starting lineups in this matchup between USF and Clemson. And Keith Tabatsnik, let's roll through the starting lineups here.
Yeah, when we talk about USF and they play a 4-3-3, their 4-3-3 is something that we're used to seeing with them. Their midfielders tuck in. Their wide forwards come in as well, so that their outside backs, both the right back Wesley Sharpie and the left back Ben Sweat, both come forward, and they're tremendous attacking players, and they'll take advantage of that all day if Florida Gulf Coast does not defend it.
And, of course, the head coach of USF, George Kiefer, now in his 12th season. I love this guy. He just plays attractive soccer. Meanwhile, on the other side, Bob Buthorn has done an amazing job with Florida Gulf Coast. And when you say amazing, he's taken them to the Division I level, had to bring a group of guys in that basically had to play on that sort of probationary period for 4 years, and here they are getting the job done.
Yeah, and he said he was going to get them to the NCAA tournament in 5 years, and he did. And last year, 11-5-3. They play basically in a 4-3-3 as well. A couple holding midfielders behind David Chippy Robledo, who is the guy that they play through and really makes everyone else look good. And the forwards, they also got about 5 or 6 players that come off the bench. They're quite deep, and I think we'll see all those players. It can be a very exciting team.
All right, as you take a look at the 2 formations here on nscaatv.com, going back to USF, they've advanced to 6 straight NCAA tournament appearances and 7 in 8 years last year. They're picked to finish 3rd in the newly minted American Athletic Conference. And with a 2-1 win over Tampa for the Rowdies Cup, the Bulls finished their preseason with a perfect 2-0 record. You talked about it in the open. However, they're starting to create a little bit of a rivalry. Bob Buthorn's such a great guy. He's like, well, you can't call it a rivalry because USF has won the last 2. But I'll tell you what, these 2 teams starting to know each other.
Yeah, well, they will. I mean, obviously, Florida Gulf Coast, a relatively new program, so you can't get a rivalry in just that short period of time. But they've played 5 or 6 times in the last few years, and of course, when you start meeting in the NCAA tournament and one team knocks the other team out, it quickly becomes a rivalry when you're only a few hours down the road from each other.
He's Keith Tabatsnik. I'm Dean Linke. You're watching here a late night edition of nscaatv.com. Almost 2-hour lightning delay before we started the women's game, which was a tie between USF and Clemson. Denise Schilte-Brown for USF, Eddie Radwanski for Clemson. Now we turn our attention to this matchup here. And as you start to continue to dissect the USF starting lineup, I mean, it is just so potent. And you're talking about a team, that kind of a young team, but an international team. And I know that you look in the back and you talk about their right and left back, but then they got Ricardo Webb, who played for the Jamaica U17, 20s and 23s, and then Dwayne Muckett in the middle of the field, U17 and U20 for Trinidad and Tobago. Very good. They're so pleased to have Samuel Husseini back. Steven Salinas is back from an injury as well. Lindo Emefa, he comes in, and he's a very good player, so they're going to be fantastic.
Yeah, and South Africa nonetheless, so obviously going to be a good player. But South Africa, Ghana, Trinidad, Jamaica, Botswana, Germany, Florida, they got everything on this team. And again, it's just like we were watching before with the women's game, these players, some of these players that come over that are from the foreign countries have a little bit more sophistication sometimes, when they get in here. And really right now, when you're going to recruit a foreign player, they have to be an impact because, the truth is there's so many good players in the United States nowadays to recruit from. You wouldn't go and spend money overseas unless it's an impact player.
For the Eagles, they've got quite the Guatemalan connection under Bob Buthorn as their right back. Francisco Mata is a freshman from Guatemala. In the middle of the field, Rodrigo Saravilla is a sophomore from Guatemala, and then another sophomore. There's a ton of sophomores starting for Bob Buthorn's team. Luis Vega, part of the Guatemala U17 program.
Yeah, well, aside from a ton of sophomores, there's another interesting factor: is there's no seniors, and it is again I wouldn't call it like a super young team. They're right in the middle in a way, and they certainly gained a ton of experience last year in doing so well. But I think they're an interesting team. When you look out at them, they don't look like your typical college team. It's not like a big group. So many college teams are made up of so many physically big players, and this is a team. This is a technical team. They like to pass the ball around, and this will be an interesting challenge for South Florida, who also likes to move the ball around. But I think it'll be two possession teams that approach it in a slightly different way, and I kind of hope that both teams get their momentums at certain times. It'll be fun to watch.
George Kiefer, as he said, in his 12th season, become one of the nation's most successful and respected coaches. He's the 2005 NSCAA South Region Coach of the Year, and he's continued to build on the foundation laid over the past 9 seasons, making this program one of the top soccer programs in the country. As I said, he's led USF to the NCAA tournament in each of the past 6 seasons, 7 of the last 8. And meanwhile, as they joined the new conference, the American Athletic, they did win the Big East Red Division title twice and the Big East Tournament title once. They've also advanced to a pair of NCAA Elite Eights in Kiefer's time as coach. Phenomenal job, both these coaches.
What is it? You talk about winning the Red Division, the Big East a couple of times, but what's interesting, last year, Dean, they make the NCAA tournament, but they did not make the Big East tournament. And, of course, the Big East had the most teams last year represented in the NCAA tournament. So I think that's obviously a statement on the former Big East Conference, and now we'll see what the new Big East Conference and the American Athletic Conference will end up being. Obviously some really good teams in both sides of it.
All right, getting ready to get started here. George Kiefer's got a fine staff as well. Fred DeCranian, Brahim Hancock, Sammy Castellanos, Jim DeNoble. They are also the Director of Soccer Operations, who I know you know well, and Amarte Marshall. A great staff here at USF.
It certainly do, and you talk about Jimmy DeNoble, and one of the great people in soccer in the game, and he's the goalkeeper coach for Region 3 Olympic Development Program as well, and just a real gentleman, a great guy to have around. But George Kiefer, he came from assistant at UConn for many years under Ray Reed, and when he first came down there, his teams looked exactly like those teams, and I think he's now developed his own way of playing and of moving the team around, and his own identity as well. It probably took a little while to get out of Ray's shadow, but I think George has done that, and again, with the help of this stadium like this too, to really build a good environment down here.
All right, the opener here for both teams on the 2013 campaign. A big night for George Kiefer. He'll give a handshake to the 4th official, and George very involved as well with his kids, coaches his daughter Kendall's U10 Chargers team. She's 9-year-old. He's got twin boys, Jack and Max, who are only 6 years old, and they play on the Chargers U8 development team, and he's also the head coach of that team as well. I'm not sure if they're still running around here, though. This game was supposed to start at 8.
Probably sent them home early enough. Not a bad thought, except for the fact that we got some exciting soccer coming up.
All right, we're underway here for Division I men's soccer on NSCAA TV. Florida Gulf Coast, the Eagles under Bob Buthorn are in blue, white, and blue. And the home team, USF, is in all white, and they have a dynamic team that you are really going to love. Edmund Wolasi up top, number 7. Here's a guy who came back from a broken leg, thought his career was over, and he's back out on the field, number 7. In the middle of the field, and then up top you've got the kid from Ghana coming over, the University of Ghana MVP, number 14, Kennedy Salorm Adabla, and he's a big-time player.
Yeah, no, and actually very excited to see him play. I've heard a lot about him, and for any player coming over here still, there's adjustment into the college game. It'd be interesting to see just where his adjustment level is right now. Opening game of the season, just a couple of preseason games under the belt.
Again, plays it up top. And it's in the middle. Again, the Bulls are in all white. Florida Gulf Coast in the blue shirts and blue socks. Corbett Soccer Stadium, home to the USF Bulls. This is actually the 3rd game played on this field that took a tremendous amount of rain from 6 to almost 8 o'clock here, Keith.
Yeah, exactly. Right about kickoff time that it was supposed to be, and delayed that couple hours, and Fortunately, both teams regrouped themselves to put on a good show with the women's game of the week.
This one played by Hosini. Hosini trying to play it up top to the very quick and speedy Malasi. Malasi from Botswana. And he's the player coming back from that broken foot. Throw in here, though, on the right side. And you're talking about two outstanding backs. Wesley Sharpie, the junior. Heard Keith Tabatsik mentioned in the open and several times here already. Ben Sweat, who is the AAC preseason defender of the year candidate. This one's sent across. It's dangerous. It's a goal. And how about the Bulls right off the bat after a tremendous delay? They start the 2000 season, and the man from Ghana does exactly what he did in Ghana. Adabla with the goal.
Yeah, and really he arrived at the right time and redeflected that in. The cross was brilliant. In behind the defender. No chance for the goalkeeper to come out. And just classy. And right off there, and we talk about the outside backs going forward, and, Wesley Sharpie getting up there, who played right wing last year, by the way, and the cross comes in, and a perfect finish. What a way to start that. I'll tell you what, I waited long enough to get it going, and didn't wait very long to get the goal.
The Bulls on top by a score of 1-0, and it is indeed number 14, Kennedy Salorm Adabla, the man from Ghana who comes in highly heralded by George Kiefer. So excited to see this young man play, and boy, is he ever delivered. Led the university over in Ghana in goals, and here he comes in, starts right away. Great pace, has ability to punch it home, George said, and did he ever punch that one home?
He punched it home, and a lot of thanks he's got to give to Wesley Sharpie for that cross that was put in as well. Just the perfect cross. Hey, it shows why he was a winger last year. He's a right back now, but showed his abilities to put that ball in. Actually, not only put it in, but he beat the guy to the end line to get the cross as well.
Yeah, big time play by number 20, Wesley Sharpie. As this one won here by Francisca Mata, one of those three Guatemalans that are on the roster. Now here's Rodriguez Saravia, another Guatemalan. He's over on the far side. Is Santiago Echeverri, the junior from Florida right here, Celebration High School. He's just 5'3", Echeverri. Keith Tabatsik knows a little bit about those kind of sizes.
I love recruiting those players. Some players I could see eye to eye with, tower over them.
I mean, I'll tell you what, your size aside, one thing I do know you admire, you were an outstanding outside back, Keith, and when you come here, now granted, they're not small like you, they're bigger outside backs, but you love seeing good outside back play. I know you do.
Well, I absolutely love it. I love those that can both tackle well and get forward well. And the modern game, the outside back gets more crosses than any other position on the field, actually. And it's become a completely different type of position, than when I played it. But the amount of players that get converted from attacking players into the wide back positions is more than any other position on the field, any other conversion on the field.
Well, and George Kiefer uses it so well. As you think about it, MFK, you got over there, and Salinas, both of those players, when you start thinking about what they do, they'll tuck in on their opposite foot, and they actually will open up the wings even more.
Exactly. And it's once again these players that are, left-footed playing on the right side and right-footed playing on the left side to do exactly that.
There's Lindo Mfeka.
Yes, from Mfeka from Durban, South Africa, one of the host cities in World Cup 2010. If this guy's as good as George Kiefer builds him, maybe he'll play for South Africa one day.
Mfeka trying to get involved in that play. Hosini, number 5. And it'll come all the way back to Dallas J., former Academy Goalkeeper of the Year in the U.S. Soccer program and won the job in the middle of the last season. We may also see Brenton Muhammad as well, though. He's got a little bit more size, as George Kiefer talking about playing two goalkeepers.
Yeah, which is interesting, because usually you won't split halves, with keepers. You may alternate games, but I guess he's trying to figure out, who's who. And if Jay, didn't win the spot until late in the season last year. He brings in this guy Mohammed, who's plays for the Antigua and Barbuda national team, as a matter of fact. So he's got a bit of experience under his belt. And I think one of the things too is if we do see him go in, is that he's probably a little bit better in the air in some college games. I don't think it'll be in this one. That's quite an advantage for a goalkeeper to be a little better in the air.
In the back, next to Wes Sharpie and Ben Sweat, Nicola Ponich, and then Ricardo Webb, who has played for all the Jamaican youth national teams. And then you've got Malosi. And right away, you see the outstanding goal-scoring ability of Adabla. And if he can start combining with Mfeka, it's going to be dangerous. Down the right side, Sharpie again. This time we'll run out of real estate, and Sharpie showing that dynamic speed on the right side. Ben Sweat gets a lot of the publicity at the left side back, but Sharpie's going to turn some heads.
Yeah, I think it's going to be bookends this year for South Florida, going up both sides, and Sharpie that time actually going a little bit too fast for himself. But one of the things about South Florida over the last number of years is that, from the start when George Kiefer came, they were really good at keeping the ball, but you often used to feel like they were keeping the ball going side to side. And I think over the last number of years, he's really gone, direct a lot more, and we find them creating more chances than they used to.
Hard foul.
I tell you what, Dean, we've been talking about some of the players here and everything, and some of the you want to learn about the players and you study what they're good at, but we're spending a lot more time studying the pronunciations of some of these players right now as we're looking at this. And I remember talking to Bob Buthorn, saying, so how do you say this guy's name? He says, I don't know. He says, I don't know. So I said, okay, good enough for me.
The coach, Keith Tabatsnik. 1-0 is the score here as Kennedy Salorm Adabla, another one of those players that are a mouthful here for both teams.
Those of us who know him well just call him Kennedy.
Actually, George pointed out they do just call him Salorm, so they even drop the Kennedy, just go with Salorm. They don't really mess with Adabla too much. Nonetheless, Bob Buthorn's team is behind here against George Kiefer's team, and let's see what the Eagles can get going. Bulls advanced past the first round of the NCAA tournament again last year, 10th time in program history.
Well, one of the things you're going to see with Florida Gulf Coast is some similarities with their outside backs. Both of them like to go forward. Luis Vega, the right back from Guatemala. Francisco Mota from Guatemala as well, the left back. Juan Pablo Martin from Mexico, just playing the ball forward. And this back line is a back line of 3 sophomores and 1 freshman, so it will take also a little bit to get the chemistry going.
Here's a ball to Sweat. Sweat, first times that flag is up, didn't matter, as Ben Sweat was hoping to cross it and find an on-running Mfeka. Malosi was also there.
Yeah, aside from it being offside, it did show, though, all of a sudden how quick they can go, because it didn't look like it was a fast, attack, and then all of a sudden Sweat goes in from the deeper run and the ball's through. Almost like creating a counterattack out of a possession.
Salinas, number 9, we just saw him, and of course last year we were here for that Michigan game, and Salinas got hurt in that game and really never played again after that, and that's another key addition for George Kiefer, is Salinas back healthy.
Well, I think it's one of the things with South Florida last year is that they sustained key injuries at different times, and they were never able to get a consistent go of things. And in fact, they were kind of healthier towards the end of the year, which probably played a lot into again an at-large bid. The feeling that they could make a run into the tournament. And they did. They get to the second round. They defeat Florida Gulf Coast. It was a 0-0 game, and they win 5-3 on penalties. And then second round lose to Tulsa. Tulsa, another team that we will see on the NSCA TV schedule of games this year.
Malosi Up top, finding Adabla, the goal scorer. Dropped neatly and quickly there to Salinas. He'll get it out wide right to Mfeka. Mfeka will tuck back in. Mfeka, good give and go. Can he come back and get it? Trying to combine with Salinas was Mfeka. And then look at Mfeka continue to fight. He may get this one back. If he doesn't, he'll earn the foul. And Mfeka now a little bit of pushing and shoving going on over here, and everybody will come into the scrum. And now a little bit of work to do here for the referee, Keith.
Yeah, he's got to sort things out over there, and they're calling trainers in for whomever's on the ground. Coach Butehorn on the sideline pulling a couple of his players over to take advantage of this break in play to try to get them reorganized a little bit. And when this is all sorted, it will be a free kick.
So a free kick opportunity, and really just the hard work there of Mfeka just stayed right with it, you know?
Yeah, because he was trying to get the 1-2, and it wasn't a great return pass, and when he didn't get it, he kept chasing it down. And I can tell you something, as a defender, you hate forwards that do that. So many forwards, they'll lose the ball, they'll take a 7-second break or whatever, and the ones that keep buzzing around trying to get you, you just hate going against them. And that's what Mfeka did that time.
I want to say hello to Ralph Polson watching the game with the NSCAA, the immediate past president of the NSCAA, now under the reins of Jack Huckle. Doing a fantastic job. That was quite the handoff last year in Indianapolis. Two gentlemen who cared quite a bit about each other. Now a free kick opportunity for Mfeka. He is over the ball. Mfeka earned this free kick. Melosi is also over there. Adabla is moving around. Sharpie is in there as well. So is Sweat. Everybody wants a piece of this. This one's crossed. It's still loose and dangerous. And I'll tell you what, George Kiefer's teams always entertain, and for the first almost 15 minutes, they have entertained entirely.
Yeah, they've entertained, and then the goal and that dangerous play there came off the restarts, actually. The first one, just say a restart, a throw in right to the winger who was already up. But then the cross right off the throw.
Bob Butehorn's team can also entertain, and here comes Florida Gulf Coast. They're now on the attack. Trying to get a little possession going are the Eagles. Dropped all the way back, falling to the feet of Vega. Luis Vega still on it, marked by Salinas. Vega down near the end line. It'll be out of bounds, and it'll stay with the Eagles. Florida Gulf Coast, Dunk City, Andy Enfield putting them on the map last year as a university, making that great run in the NCAA basketball tournament. And
I don't remember that at all.
Beating the Georgetown Hoyas, where Keith Tabatsik was a coach for so long. But I'll tell you what, now people are going to know Florida Gulf Coast, and they're going to find a nice little secret here. Bob Butehorn is an outstanding coach.
No, absolutely, and it's no secret to the people who know Bob. But, even just within a couple of years after starting the program, and you're right, when you first start a program and come into Division I, you're not eligible for postseason play. But even then, they were playing good soccer, pulling some big wins, but of course, in the last 2 or 3 years, you're expecting them to win the Atlantic Sun Conference and to have a real shot at getting into the NCAAs.
On the other end, USF's 2013 signing class ranked number 12 nationally, led by the South African aforementioned Lindo Mfeka. Listed as the number 8 rated player in the country coming into this one, and Mfeka has delivered, as has the Ghanaian superstar, who, George Kiefer talked about the fact he just can flat out score goals, and here he scores one in the first few minutes.
Right off the bat. We're saying whether he can make the adjustment to college soccer, and he probably heard us talk about that.
This will fall to Dwayne Muckett. Adabla goes down, but it's Adabla with the foul. Running the show is Marcos de Oliveira, Matt Lombardi, and Stephen McCarty on the sidelines. The goal scorer, Kennedy Salorm Adabla, is back up after the foul, and now the Eagles will try to build it out of the back.
A good interception for Florida Gulf Coast, and we'll find their outside back getting forward again, Vega.
Here comes USF. Mfeka will play it back to Sharpie, and Mfeka will try to run it back down. Mfeka a little shoulder to shoulder, and it'll go out of bounds. Score here is USF 1, FGCU 0, and you can visit the official NSCAA college scoreboard at topdrawersoccer.com for all of your college score needs. Along with the most up-to-date scores, topdrawersoccer.com provides box scores, match, team, and player stats, video highlights, and game recaps of all the action around the country. Topdrawersoccer.com.
And because of the late start for us here, we will have quite a number of results for you from around the country today. Some big games in the opening weekend already.
Ricardo Webb, the Jamaican. Not your typical giant center back, but Webb can play with the ball at his feet, as everybody that wears a George Kiefer USF uniform can indeed do.
I'm pretty sure you have 22 people on the field right now, goalkeepers included, that can do that with both of these teams.
Here's Dallas J.
Speaking of Dallas J and feet, that is one of his strengths, actually, is his feet and his distribution.
One in the middle, coming all the way back, is Dwayne Muckett. Muckett will get it out wide to Sweat. Sweat looking up, surveying. Can he switch it all the way over to Mfeka? Mfeka is over there. It'll bounce over Mfeka. He'll let Sharpie come over on an overlapping run. Can he wait for Sharpie? He probably should have.
He should have waited, and he also should have taken that ball out of the air off the cross as well. If he took it out of the air, he might have been able to go one-on-one without any cover behind the left back for Florida Gulf Coast.
Here come the Bulls. Salinas, little give and go to Melosi. Melosi now out wide. And the goal scorer a little bit too strong there, Adabla.
Yeah, you see the creativity in the South Florida attack there as they go in, and some good movement off the ball. That you have to be very disciplined defensively to stay with those sort of quick little runs that those players are making off the ball.
One in the middle by Sharpie. Mfeka is over there. Good job shielding it, though, is Francisco Mata, the freshman from Guatemala City, Guatemala. And it's Mata with the throw-in as the Eagles trying to get a little bit more of the possession. 27 and change left here in the first half, and the Bulls on top, 1-0. The goal scorer, Kennedy Salorm Adabla. So come all the way back to Nathan Ingham. Extremely plays beyond his years maturity-wise, according to Bob Butehorn. Dropped up top to the center forward. Sadoy. And he'll earn the foul. Free kick opportunity for a team that's got a ton of free kick specialists.
One of the guys who we might see shooting, he's actually setting up Felipe de Souza, has one of the hardest shots in college soccer, and we'll see whether he can put this shot on target. But my guess is that this is what we're going to see here, and right foot, left foot, the best shots coming with him from the right foot, but he plays on the left side as well because he can get around the outside to get crosses in, and I would expect that we're going to see a shot directly from him.
Born in Brazil, De Souza over the ball. Went to high school at Wharton High School here in Florida. De Souza will crank one. There's that shot. Oh, my. And it's in the back of the net. Keith Tabasnik caught it. D'Souza delivered, and we're tied at 1.
There he is, and boy, I'll tell you, you have to hit a ball like that from that distance, just strike it hard. He got a little deflection as well. It didn't look like at first it was going to go in. A little deflection, probably caught the goalkeeper a little flat-footed, and he has the right to celebrate, I'll tell you, something like that.
Able to sneak by Dallas J.
So here we are at a 26-minute to go in this half, and we're 1-1, and we said we're going to get an entertaining game, and both teams are providing it. Actually, I don't think either team into a rhythm yet either. Certainly Florida Gulf Coast has not been allowed to get in a rhythm, a little bit more for South Florida, but neither one, having any dominance really over the other.
Bob Butehorn talking about just what you said, the hardest shot that he's ever seen, and we saw it right there. That's a big statement, but he wasn't lying.
No, obviously, usually when you say that, the person puts it, 50 yards over the goal, or something, and 30 yards wide. But this time they got it for us.
25 minutes and change.
We're doing the second one on the way back, but if USF, if it stays tied, it'll be USF.
Adabla.
Right? Yes, okay.
One in the middle. Look at Webb handling the pressure. Sweat was calling for it. Delivered on a dime. Look at Sweat. Pretty solid touch there as he dropped it to Muckett. Back on it is Salinas. Salinas. It'll go off of Salinas as Luis Vega, the little man at 5'2".
It's almost a perfect matchup, him and Salinas.
Flick there by Sadoy, the freshman from Miami Shores, Florida. Went to Florida Virtual School. Right side, played cleanly there and quickly by Hosini. Samuel Hosini, the senior midfielder. No seniors on Florida Gulf Coast as it's dropped to Malozzi. Malozzi, battling back from that foot injury. Thought his career was over, but didn't realize the great care over here in the United States. When he broke his foot, he's like, "Oh, I'm done." And here he is, back playing, doing well.
He's back, and it's going to be interesting after missing so much of what how he can get back into the same groove. Certainly a very explosive and exciting player, and I think watching him and remembering seeing him before, if you got a criticism that he can complicate the game a little bit, and I think sometimes overdoing his moves instead of just sometimes you just need a simple thing and go by, or play a 1-2 and use your speed off the ball to get by.
No whistle. They'll let him play on. Here come the Eagles. A little bit of momentum. Now tied at 1. Look at Webb doing the splits there. He may have hurt himself as he was somehow able to get to that ball. A super athletic player from Ricardo Webb. I love watching him play.
They did a good job there. Rodrigo Saravia taking the ball forward for Florida Gulf Coast and almost splitting the defense with the pass.
Salinas feeling the pressure there from Vega. Vega all over the place. And finally Salinas. That's the exact matchup that Keith Tabasnik just talked about. Here's Sharpie, who had the great service for the first goal to Adabla. Now played back in the middle, real cleanly here to Hosini. Hosini will come all the way back to Jay, who just saw one rocketed by him. A tremendous shot from Felipe D'Souza, and that's why we're tied at 1. NSCAA TV brought to you by Continental Tire and the good folks from the National Soccer Coaches Association of America. What a ball played in. Salinas wanted it back on his right foot. Can he switch it to the right? He can, and he does. And Fecca's over there, and Fecca thought he was just going to hammer one. It's still loose. Salinas goes down. Boy, I thought for sure Fecca was going to hammer it. He was open.
Yeah, no, exactly. And we felt something was coming there. Another very quick attack by South Florida. And actually, they got through there because we were talking about Vega getting up and marking, and Vega actually was way up out of position and allowed that space in behind him.
Tough ball from Sweat. Bit of a hospital ball right there.
Yeah, quite casual, really, and I think this is one of the knocks on South Florida, though, at times, that they can get casual. There was a pass a little earlier that was a square ball coming across field that was a little casual and forced their teammate to have to play the ball all the way back to the goalie.
Malozzi gets it to Sharpie. And Fecka comes over in support. He's calling for it. Salinas is in front of him. And Fecka will go backwards to find Hosseini. Hosseini's now on it. He'll look up, and he'll come all the way back to Webb. Webb, the center back. Everybody comes forward for George Kiefer's team. A foul there as Muckett. Oh, no, they'll say it was on Muckett. Wow, go the other way. Apparently maybe got a hand on it. This one played into space. Webb, who came all the way forward on the attack, will race back to get it. Webb goes down. He gets fouled. And now I'll tell you what, it's end-to-end soccer, USF at FGCU.
And this is exactly what we expected tonight, and it was worth waiting for. And I think we said both teams, if they can get into any part of what they like to do, it'll be exciting. And this will be the battle. And the real key too is that when one team, if they get any momentum, can they score during that time? When they do have the little bit better of the play.
Tied at 1. Bob Butehorn will go to the bench here.
Well, Bob says that he goes pretty much about, onto his bench about deep by 6 players, deep, all that could possibly be starters as well. And to be successful in the NCAA with the length of the season and the wear and tear of the season, you have to be able to go 15 or 16 deep.
David Chippy Robledo had that one taken away by Salinas, and Robledo, a player that Bob Butehorn really high on, have barely said his name. Is when you take a look at time of possession here, the home team has had quite a bit of it, but still it's only 1-1.
Well, you're exactly right, Dean. As Robledo actually has not had the ball a lot, and I think this is one reason that's Florida Gulf Coast, and not one reason, probably the reason Florida Gulf Coast has not gotten into a rhythm. This guy needs to have the ball for them to really get going because he makes other players look good.
Isaiah Madrid, a freshman from Albuquerque, New Mexico, will come into the game for Bob Butehorn, as well as Xavier Silva, a junior from Boca Raton, Florida. As coming out of the game, you just talked about the fact that Robledo had not done enough, and Bob Butehorn, its coaching staff, up off the bench. Chris Gores, Alec Dufty, first seasons. Of course, Chris Gores did a fantastic job with Stanford, a Bobby Clark disciple. And then Alec Dufty, who played at Evansville for Mike Jacobs, another NSCAA stalwart. Silva off the bench, taken away by Sweat, back to Webb, and Webb will knock it out of bounds. George is not shy about the fact that defense is not the first priority here with the Bulls, and I love it because they play soccer here, they just come forward.
Well, they play a lot of soccer, but I think their defense is by virtue of keeping the ball and not allowing the other team a ton of chances. I mean, the truth is that any team that's going to be a great attacking team also has to be a pretty good defending team to win the ball in good areas of the field.
Vega dropped over to Sadoy. Webb hesitated just a second, and finally now it's cleared out of there by Nikola Ponich, part of the Canadian program, part of the Canada U20 team. Sharpie will leave it for Jay, and Jay will bomb one long, and Fecka is over there. And Fecka, he will just flat out battle. He is a handful, to say the least, as he's been battling Francisco Mata quite some time.
Yeah, he has, and he's been winning those battles as well, and it'll be interesting to watch that matchup as the game goes on.
Ponich over to Sharpie, played back in the middle, Malozzi. Adabla, the goal scorer, he'll lose it. And let's see what's going on here. Looks like they'll issue a card, and I think it might be, looks like number 7.
Yeah, I think it was,
Malozzi.
Yeah, Malozzi, or there's something he did off the ball or something he said. I'm not sure, but it didn't look like it was on the ball. Because it's unusual to stop to give the card, when the other team has the ball in possession.
Vega Right side. Sadoy, good cross. Nobody home, and that'll allow Mfeka to get going. Mfeka looks up. Malosi is in front of him. Adabla is all the way. Center, marked, though, between two Eagle players. It's good defense here by Bob Buthorn's team. This game's starting to settle down, a little bit more rhythm. High pressure. Another sort of casual pass back, and Webb almost has it stolen away, able to stay with it. Now one back by Muckett. Muckett back to Sweat. Sweat back to Muckett. Well, there's a nutmeg. As we were talking about your holding midfielder right now running nutmegs back in their defensive third.
It's about the only way they were able to find some space. So they were being swarmed by the Florida Gulf Coast, and the passing back and forth wasn't working. So maybe it's just a little nutmeg. And, you saw he gave up after the nutmeg.
Yeah, he was all right. That's it. Salinas. Adabla on the left. Salinas, does he see him? Salinas may take one. Boy, he drew enough players away as Adabla pulled some players, Muckett pulled some players, and then finally he's like, wait, I'm going to take a shot, but his balance wasn't there.
His balance, he certainly slipped as he was going. It wasn't a bad decision. He could have easily slipped it, as well to the left side, and I think that would have been a good decision about Adabla, but taking that shot was fine, because when those players are running, the keeper's also watching the runs going one way or the other.
Cameron Thomas, another one of the fine freshmen here on this highly heralded recruiting class for George Kiefer, will check in. Coming out is number 6, Dwayne Muckett, another freshman. Under 15 minutes here, Keith.
Yeah, Cameron Thomas from close by, the Clearwater Academy. Quite a number of good players coming out of there.
What a touch here. Salinas over to Adabla on top of the 18 there, though. Nathan Ingham. Yeah, a ton of great players here in Clearwater. Keith, you're right. That was a great touch right there, though, by Salinas. D'Souza, the big man. I wonder what his range is. Yeah, indeed, the yellow card was on Malosi for USF. Mfeka. Over the top, drops one in. Salinas is there on the turn. Can't get his body around it as Steven Salinas. What a beautiful drop there by USF.
It was a great drop, and once again, it was very similar to an attack before where it didn't really look like there was anything to happen, and then all of a sudden like that, a couple of those runs up top, unbalances the back of the defense, and all of a sudden they're open in a 2-on-1. And I think, as watching this game right now, this is something that Bob Buthorn is going to really have to sort out as this early season goes on, is that spine of his defense. And the gaps that are coming between the right center back and the right back, left center back and left back, and the partnerships of the two center backs, because there seems to be these gaps coming out. This is a really good team they're going against that's able to exploit them. So if they can sort this out, it will go a long way for helping the rest of the season.
Keep an eye on that, Keith. Webb gets stripped. This is dangerous. Could be 2-1. A deflection and a big-time save by Jay to keep it at 1-1.
Yeah, that was a huge save because that was a tremendous play by Florida Gulf Coast, but it came by the casual play from South Florida again in the back.
Shot by number 17, Isaiah Madrid, and a big save, though, by Jay. Corner kick for the Eagles, Keith.
And we'll see. They're feeling. Look at one end a chance almost, the other end a great chance at a save, and what this game was built for, we're seeing.
Indeed, Francisco Mata with that left foot driven in. Jay had that big save. Punched it for a second, and that one will go out of bounds. Remember that play and that save on the shot from Madrid. Webb got a little bit turned around, and if it's not for Jay, it's 2-1 visitors here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, they kept that ball in there. That last shot by Juan Pablo Martin goes way over top. But, you just feel like either team at any time something can happen. But, again, I'm going to say that this was the casual play in the back for South Florida. by Ricardo Webb, actually, where the ball got stripped from him. And this has always been one of the issues, I think, with South Florida. A little bit too casual sometimes in the back.
See if they can tighten that up here as we roll on. Just 11 minutes and change. Checking into the game here now is Marcus Epps, another freshman. He'll replace the goal scorer, Adabla. And coming forward, I'll tell you, one engine and one engine only is Mfeka. He is just dynamic. Full goal is Mfeka. Prefer to call him Mfeka as well, as he's an outstanding player here, Keith Tabatsnik.
Well, we've been saying his name a lot because he's all over the place, and I'm sure George Kiefer's got to be happy with bringing him over.
Sharpie now on it. Sharpie down the right side. Here's a converted winger, but another great service from Sharpie. George Kiefer said Sharpie can serve a great ball. He was not exaggerating at all.
Well, the truth is, he's not going to get all those services like that if he's playing up front.
Not in this system.
Not in the way that they play. And so you put him back there. Now he's getting into those positions, and again, in the middle, I think that was Salinas trying to meet it in the box for the header.
Casual again. Malosi will lose it. D'Souza. He's a big man in the middle of the field, giving way to another big man, number 6 there, Rodriguez Cervilla. And this will go out of bounds off of Sharpie and back to the Eagles. Tied at 1, couple quality goals, some big-time saves, and a few near misses, and we still got a lot of soccer left. All the way across. Trouble right in front as it finds the head of Silva. Boy, I'll tell you what, Florida Gulf Coast, they didn't panic, giving up that early goal to USF and Adabla, and they're starting to put together some key possession time.
They definitely are, and quite frankly, Silva should have done a lot better with that. That ball was laid right onto his head. You just got to get up and nod that down, and keeper's coming across to face that goal so fast, and unless you nod it right at him, you've got a goal.
This is fun, Keith, actually. You talked about really the anticipation of the attacking qualities of both these teams, and as you said, they've delivered.
Yeah, they're delivering there, and it is coming out, and that's great to see this in college soccer, especially the first game of the season, how they're going. And right now, South Florida's got to be worried about not allowing Florida Gulf Coast to get that rhythm of possession that we had talked about before that they like to do.
Remember that tackle from Hosini, who started this. Salinas is now on it. Hosini wanted it back. Salinas, who has shown the ability to drop some unbelievable balls. This one will ping around to Cameron Thomas. Kept alive there. And Salinas is still on it. Salinas is everywhere. He has looked outstanding, and one of the reasons George Kiefer was so fired up about this season. Hosini. I like the way he plays in front of that back four as well. Hosini's doing a nice job here. Epps trying to pop it over. He does. He's in on the cross. Hammered too high, though.
Yeah, and that's once again pulling those center backs out of position, and very difficult for those guys. And Malosi putting the ball over top. And it's had a couple of chances to drive that ball down, right in front of the goal, and it was kind of just barely missed. That one wasn't a bare miss; it was a good miss. But again, I think the big issue for Bob Buhorn is the defending at the back. The center backs are getting pulled out of position too easily.
Husini is there. Thanks for watching NSCAA TV, brought to you by the National Soccer Coaches Association of America. You can learn all kinds of great things by going to nscaa.com, an unbelievable resource center, membership benefits, and more. And you can learn about the convention, too. And Vega was thinking about learning about putting one in the back of the net. And it is saved there last minute by Jay. Corner kick for the Florida Gulf Coast Eagles.
We talked about a very nice soccer facility here. They also have an excellent facility down in Florida Gulf Coast, built a few years ago, and hosted MLS teams down there. Saw DC United and Chicago play a couple years ago in preseason. An outstanding facility.
Corner Driven across. It's still loose. Husini couldn't clear it. D'Souza got a piece of it. Now here comes Sharpie and the Bulls. Played into space. Mfeka is there. Mfeka, what a first-time ball. This one back in. On the turn is Cameron. Corner kick now the other way in about 5 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. It's from one side to the other, and once again a little bit disorganized in the back, and just opening up too many spaces there. And by the way, I don't know if they're going to be able to sort out the center backs right now, so they might need to sort out the midfielders in front of them to stop those passes from coming.
Lindo Mfeka will handle the corner kick here. Edwin Malosi comes over, thinking about a short corner. George Kiefer's team famous for that. Hand in the air. Pawnich trying to get to it. Look at that bicycle kick just to clear it here by the goal scorer, Felipe D'Souza. We are seeing everything here, Keith. Sweat can drop one in. This one stays in bounds, perhaps thankfully because of the rain. Salinas running down everything. And Salinas grabbing his ankle. I certainly hope he is okay. Steven Salinas, as a smoke bomb is off here behind the Florida Gulf Coast goalkeeper. Be a free kick opportunity for the Bulls. Played quickly. Mfeka will drop it. And now a whistle, and they'll do this again. It gives me a chance to tell you that we'd like to thank Choice Hotels, the official hotel sponsor of the NSCAA. Wherever the game takes you, Choice Hotels makes getting there easy. Visit choicesportstravel.com to book your hotel today. Free kick opportunity here for the Bulls. Mfeka with that left foot, driven across, still in front. Sharpie comes crashing in, but not on target. Mfeka delivered a great free kick right there.
Yeah, he did. I'll tell you, it looks like the strategy on free kicks is just drive it across as hard as you can, head height or below, and with some good runs in there. And I tell you, all you do, you get a foot just deflecting it like the goal. You know, it is very hard to save those.
Jordan Gooden will now come in. He is from Illinois, actually part of the Chicago Fire Academy team that played in the McGuire Cup that was won by Lehigh Valley. Right side, dropped into space. 3.5 minutes left here in the first half, and we are tied at 1. Kennedy Salorm Dabla got it started early here for the home team, but answered by the powerful foot of Felipe D'Souza, and that's where we are, tied at 1. End-to-end action, though.
It is end-to-end, and again, just like the first game, this is a fair result at the time right now. The only thing that could be different is it could be 2-2 or 3-3 with the types of chances that have happened.
Keeping alive is Epps. I'm not quite sure how he did it.
I'll show you later, Dean, but it was a good piece of skill.
Unbelievable. Stuck that right foot right in there and around, and then as it's bouncing, volleyed one. If you're watching on NSCATV.com, you have to be entertained by just the quality of play. And up and down the flanks, middle of the field, holding midfielders, dropping balls over into space. A big-time save we saw. A rocket shot from D'Souza from 25 plus, everything.
As they go on this attack, the thing to watch for, too, when South Florida's on the attack is their movement off the ball. It is really exceptional and causing tremendous problems for the defense for Florida Gulf Coast. To be honest with you, I think right now that's basically the biggest difference between the two is that movement off the ball for South Florida.
settled down here by Saravia, one of many sophomores. And as Keith Batsik mentioned, no seniors for Bob Butehorn's team. Dropped in the middle again. This one will fall. Can Gooden get to it? He tries. It'll go off of Gooden as once again Xavier Silva is in there, number 14.
Yeah, and he got up really well for that, and I'm actually not sure if he was knotting that down or trying to head that ball to the far post, for a shot, because it looked like he had the chance to do that. But either way, he got up in the air really well, and clearly the main target up there. There's two crosses that have gone to him, and he put a different element when he went in the game. An element of a true target player up there that they didn't have beforehand.
Husini, 1 minute left here in the first half. Husini barely got that one over to Sweat. He'll drop it to Epps. Epps with a tough ball. Here comes the counterattack. D'Souza looks up. It's 3-on-5 right now at the moment. Hard tackle coming back from Sweat. It'll fall back here, though, to Silva. D'Souza can't get it back. And coming back to clean it up is number 19, Cameron Thomas. 30-plus seconds left here in the first half. Now 20. Tied at 1. That's how the first game ended between the USF women's soccer team, coached by Denise Schilte Brown, and Eddie Radwanski's Clemson Tigers. And an entertaining first 45 here from Corbett Soccer Stadium on the campus of USF, Keith. But after 45, it's USF 1, FGCU 1.
Yeah, and like I said, a fair result right now, and I have no problem with watching another 45 just like this, but I would like to have a winner before any overtime could happen. That's all I'm going to say, but very happy with watching that first half.
Entertaining soccer as George Kiefer always delivers now in his 12th season, end-to-end. You brought the Ghanaian superstar in, and he delivered 3 minutes into this one, Coach.
No, he did a good job on the finish, and, I thought his running into the box was good. I feel like our right side was able to get around their left side a fair amount, but still, the surface is very wet from the rain, so it's a little bit sloppy. Gulf Coast is pressuring us pretty good, so we just got to play more balls forward and start to play a little more penetrating balls, and then I think we'll start to find good success.
Pretty big time save by Dallas J as well to keep this one at 1-1.
No, Dallas did a good job. He was, cut that guy's time off pretty quickly. I thought he did a good job, and I think looking at the back four, they could be a little bit more alert in certain situations and a little bit more communication, and we'll be okay.
Well, it's funny, George, because I was just asked a third question. The third question was, do you think your back four needs to be a little more alert?
No, it's the long delay. I think we'll just go back in. It's very quiet right now. We just got to start talking a lot more and passing information on, and I think you'll see a much better team in the second half.
Yeah, impressed by Salinas and Fecca, all of them. Well done, George. Good luck in the second half.
Thanks, team.
All right, George Kiefer, the fond head coach of the USF Bulls. As we roll on here, this game, of course, presented by Continental Tire. Continental Tire is the presenting sponsor of the College Soccer Night right here on NSCAATV.com. Continental Tire, innovative technology, driving confidence. Find out more at ContinentalTire.com. Your score at halftime of the second game here on NSCAATV.com is USF 1 and Florida Gulf Coast 1. We'll take a break and come back with more from Tampa.
That's hilarious.
Tra la la tra la tra la pleasure.
Each year, the NSCAA puts over 7,000 coaches through our coaching education program. Youth, high school, and college coaches at all levels participate in the diploma courses. Join your peers and get educated. Better coaching, better players, better game. NSCAA Coaching Academy. Improving soccer, one coach at a time. Register today at nscaa.com/education.
guys, so I'm stuck at what I can say, I guess. You know what I mean? It's just what we have here.
I know exactly.
And you can just stand right here. Let me know when he's done with the coffee, right?
Okay.
When he's done with the goal board and the upcoming games, and then I can go down to the interview after that.
The broadcast of this match is authorized by the National Soccer Coaches Association of America. Any rebroadcast, retransmission, or other use of any image, sound, account, or description without the express written permission of the NSCAA is strictly prohibited. Tonight's match was produced for the NSCAA by Turbo Sports Group. We got more exciting action coming up here on NSCAATV.com. As we'll roll on to the NAIA action brought to you by Turbo, Concordia, Oregon, at Hastings. That is tomorrow night, 6 o'clock, right here on NSCAATV.com. And then we've got the University of Northwestern Ohio at Olivia Nazarene as well on Monday night. And then don't forget, next Friday, the Crew will be out in full force as the Duke Blue Devils come into town to take on the Maryland Terrapins in a big ACC matchup. Heard right here on NSCAATV.com. Dean Linke here as we get ready for an opportunity to talk to Bob Buhorn, the fine head coach of Florida Gulf Coast. It's NSCAATV.com. I don't even hear myself. Rolling on here at halftime. Dean Linke along with Keith Tabatsnik. Delighted to be with you here at NSCAATV.com. Mentioned that Duke Maryland game coming up. Florida Gulf Coast already out on the field, getting ready to get started here. As we hope to be joined by Bob Buhorn. Two minutes here left in halftime, and indeed we are now joined by the head coach of the Eagles for Florida Gulf Coast, Bob Buhorn. And Bob, I thought your team responded well as really out of the gates USF looked very good, but you came back with a nice equalizer and almost got the second one, if not for a big-time save from Jay.
Well, it definitely looks like the first game of the season. We look nervous at times. They look nervous at times. The game's a little bit frantic. It's end to end. The quality is not as good as we maybe want, but I think in all it's got some good fan enjoyment to it. So.
Bob, I saw that you obviously partway through that half took out Chippy Robledo, from the middle of the field. I know he's one of your go-to guys. I know you also told me that you go fairly deep, like 6 players deep into your bench. So what was the reasoning for that? I know he's a key player for you.
I think Chippy just wasn't finding the ball as much. I think the game was a little bit hectic, like we talked about before. He's a guy that the game needs to be kind of around him a lot, and he can move the ball well, and he's pretty crafty. And I think it was just I needed some guys that were going to put more dangerous runs in place, and maybe he was just become a little bit he was just a little bit too complacent on the day. So we're going to stick him back here in the second half, and hopefully he can make a difference.
Bob, we still got a couple minutes left, so I think it'd be great if you could talk about really sort of the rise here. You had to go through the process to become Division I. You talked about how proud you were of those players that helped you get here. Talk a little bit about that, Coach.
Yeah, it's pretty special to me. I mean, obviously, this is FGCU is my kind of true love right now as far as growing the game, and the players I've been exposed to and the guys that have come through my program have been outstanding. And I just think it's one of those things where it was a rare opportunity in today's college world, and I took a shot at it and built something from the ground, and it's been an absolute blast. And I've been privileged to coach some amazing young men. So really, really, really honored.
you also get to interface with some great coaches, and I know the relationship with George Kiefer is a good one as well.
Well, you got one up there in the box too, Keith Tabasnik, so I figured I'll give him some props. Yeah, George and I, we enjoy the time that we coach against each other. I think we're on high tension just for the game and fighting over 2 minutes of what we're going to use for warm-ups. But in general, it's a good matchup. We enjoy it. We like to have it every year, and I think it's going to continue for a while.
All right, I got to make room for Keith Tabasnik now, though. I do appreciate it, Bob Butehorn. Thanks so much. Good luck, not only the second half, the rest of the season. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Dean. Thanks, Keith. See you, boys.
All right, good man right there, Bob Butehorn, Keith.
No, absolutely, and I have had this is very true. I've had the pleasure of working with Bob for many years, and he was on the Olympic development staff when I was running Maryland, and we coached the East Sports Festival team together, and it just has had a wonderful time learning from each other. And it's no surprise to me just how detailed he's been in putting this program together on and off the field. I said that the facilities down there are first class, and it's quite a place. And I think he's going to have a tremendously long career at Florida Gulf Coast. And some of the people that he's been influenced by and played with, Darryl G. If anyone knows that name, they're my age, because Darryl was the first player to go to the NASL straight from high school. Jay Miller, was one of his coaches at University of Tampa. John Ellinger, as well. Tommy Fitzgerald, was a great influence on him. And when you're influenced by those sort of people, he's obviously has had a great circle of people to influence him, and yet he's his own coach and a really good one.
And he lists Keith Tabasnik as well, and he does it with all sincerity. I know we joke quite a bit, Keith, but he thinks very highly of you, and you heard it right there. And pleasure to be with you here in the booth, and really a pleasure to be rolling again here on NSCAATV.com. And boy, what a great kickoff on the men's side as well. I want to thank Rob Kehoe for the role he's done and played and putting these games together as well. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. Duke, Maryland next Friday as well.
Well, I'm looking forward to that, and that'll be a much shorter trip for me, of course, and just around the Beltway. But again, get there early. College Park is going to be packed for that game. They've set records actually with the Duke Maryland games on TV before. Hopefully, they'll do one again. Maryland on the West Coast right now as we speak, playing Stanford.
All right, here we go. Right out of a cannon once again. Mfeka, who just started that way. Adabla's back in, and this one hammered from distance right there from Sweat and saved by the goalkeeper.
And I'll tell you, this is why Sweat is going to be, a top pro prospect. First of all, be left-footed. It's always an advantage being left-footed. He can defend. I think the question is going to be, how good is his actual 1v1 defending on that side of the ball? But certainly what he can do going forward, and is going to be of value to some team.
Hosseini, who really played well in the first 45, as I think you're exactly right about Sweat. He'll be on some MLS roster. Sharpie may be as well. Sharpie down the right side.
Well, I think the interesting thing is I'm not sure Sharpie would be in that category if he stayed at right wing, and I think coming to the right back, the jury will still be out because you see him a little bit more, to say, but he's certainly been impressed so far.
Second half underway here from Corbett Soccer Stadium on the campus of the University of South Florida. We are tied at 1. It is a throw-in for Sharpie. Salinas, who was just buzzing all over the field in the first half, is picked right up where he left off. Polnich tried to come forward. Look at Sweat tracking all the way back. Boy, I thought that was going to be a foul on Sweat as he bumped Echeverry off the ball, but they'll let him play on. Webb, again, way too casual. That's a bad play by Webb. Stolen away by Florida Gulf Coast. Back in. Here's a shot, and Webb is lucky right there.
Yeah, he's very lucky, and really Echeverry should have punished him for that. He had a good look on goal, and to really not put that on target is really poor execution at that level. And this guy's a good player. He was the Atlantic Sun Tournament MVP, and Echeverry we're talking about. And, with Junior, he's kind of, one of the he's one of the old guys on this team and got a great chance there to get on goal. 3 goals and 4 assists last year, and his best look on target this year as well.
Battle in the middle of the field.
We talking to Bob Budenhorn at halftime, and asked him about Chippy, which is David Robledo, who we had highlighted, in the pregame, about a guy that he needs to have the ball, and as Bob said, he's a guy right there that has to be around the ball, and there he is finally connecting too, and.
Yeah, well said, Keith. 2 great touches. I'll let you finish this thought after this opportunity. But boy, you talk about Robledo, and there you are again.
Well, I mean, if they're going to be what they want to be, it's different than whether they could win the game with or without him for one reason or another, a free kick or whatever. But if they're going to go where they want to go down the road this season, Bob knows he has to be a key part. So he did take him out because it was struggling. He certainly didn't want to go down 2-0, and they needed something to happen, and it worked. But this is why I think, why I really respect Bob as a coach is he obviously talked to him at halftime. He said, this is what you need to do. Let's go out and do it. And hopefully he'll grow that way as opposed to, hey, you haven't done well enough, you're sitting the rest of the game or something like that. So I think we've seen in both games. We talked in the other game how some coaches move some players to a different position instead of benching them.
Melosi. And Melosi was tugged and pulled for a good 20 yards, and he'll finally get the call. And this will give George Kiefer's team, right in front of George Kiefer, an opportunity to loop one in. Mfeka, although looks more interested in squaring one. Melosi comes over. Now I think he'll try to get one near post or far post, Keith.
Oh, I think this is going to bend right over towards the penalty spot and in. I'll let you know for sure in a second.
Mfeka.
There we go.
Yeah, right on. Right. Oh, my! Are you kidding me? An unbelievable goal. And it's 2-1 for the Bulls, and the fans love it. What a volley.
I'll tell you what, how can you not love that? How can you not love that one, with that as it pops back out and puts it in, an absolute classic goal. And again,
Samuel Husini.
And again, Dean, just the individual brilliance to come up with that, but off a free kick, whipped in, things happen. The keeper did not deal with that well. He didn't get that ball out far. Now it bounces right in there, and all of a sudden, it's a 2-1, just like the start of the first half. And Florida Gulf Coast, can they bounce back again? What are we inside 5 minutes, of the half? So.
What an unbelievable goal by Husini. Somehow he was kept onside as well. And Keith Tabatsik, you called it. That one looping right in front of the penalty kick spot. And
he actually overhit it a little bit, I think, because it did come in a bit closer to the goalkeeper. And I think Ingham is going to be very disappointed with how he got that, or he did not get the ball out. And, the 3 rules of clearing a ball are, high, wide, and far. And, he didn't get any one of them. On that.
And George Kiefer clapping in front of the Bulls bench, and what a great job George Kiefer's now done in his 12th year.
Well, it's interesting because Bob Budenhorn said they're definitely going to come out, play better, and of course they've given up the early goal. And I'll hold on here for a sec.
Adabla, who got the goal in the first half for the Bulls to give them that 1-0 lead, he's taken down outside the 18. With a little bit of bump. Referee not buying that one.
He didn't buy it, but I tell you, it looked like a foul. It looked like he had beat him, got taken down. But, and then George Kiefer, saying as well that they needed to, sort out the back 4, and neither one really happened. The back 4 gave away Webb gave away that ball earlier for a chance, and it just goes to show you can tell them anything you want at halftime. They're still 18 to 21-year-olds. They'll go out and you have no idea. How's that? It just end. Did that sound bitter?
Just a little bit.
Hey, for those players of mine that are listening, you know who you are.
Edmund Melosi called for the foul after Husini was trying to set up another opportunity. A goal by Husini makes it 2-1 here for USF at Corbett Soccer Stadium on the campus of USF right here in Tampa, Florida. A lot of weather here. 2-hour delay for the women's game as we bring you a doubleheader to kick off this college showcase here on NSCATV.com. 2-hour delay, and then the USF women And Clemson women go 110 minutes and a 1-1 tie. A late penalty kick goal for Eddie Radwanski's Clemson Tigers team to tie it at 1. Now here comes Bob Butehorn's Florida Gulf Coast University Eagles team down 1. They showed they can answer in the first half. Let's see if they can do it here now in the second half. Referee wants the clock to stop. Sharpie. That was Paunich, rather, that cleared it high. Nikola Paunich, the Canadian. Got Sharpie and Sweat out on the wings. Ricardo Webb, the Jamaican. In the middle, you've got Edwin Malalas along with Samra Hosseini. Starting the game was Dwayne Muckett. And then up top, the goal scorer in the first half, Kennedy Salorm Abdallah. And then Lindo Mfeka and Steven Salinas. And Salinas has had a wonderful game as well.
No, he has, and again, good to be back in the lineup for George Kiefer. And we saw Salinas the first time, a couple years ago, and it was just such a spark that he gave to the team. Then, as we watch him go down, trying to spark another goal for South Florida. But really composed player with a ton of skill.
Adabla. Can he get it back? Adabla. Flag is up. Didn't matter. Flag is up on Adabla, trying to do the give and go, but the angle not quite there, Keith.
No, it was a good idea, and that was just a bang bang, on that, and we're said we got this late start, and we have a ton of scores already in because of the late start, and we'll hit you with a few of them right now. American University starts off with a 3-1 win over George Washington. Congratulations to Todd West. Boston College over Boston University. Eddie Kelly beating Neil Roberts 2-1.
Hang on, Keith. Mfeka outside of his foot. He will drop it. Oh, my. And almost the second goal of the campaign for Salorm Adabla.
And I tell you, Adabla should have had his second goal. He was in a perfect position. The keeper had been coming across the face of the goal, and I think he hits that solid towards that far post. It wouldn't have had to been even right in the corner. We would have had a goal out of it. And you could say he was a little off balance, but it wasn't that hard a shot even off balance. You want to hear some more scores, Dean, from the Top Drawer Soccer scoreboard? You also have Cal defeating Georgetown Hoyas. Georgetown coming off the fantastic run last year to the College Cup final, but Cal, who had an off year last season, and maybe they're on their comeback 2-0 today. UConn defeats St. Francis of Brooklyn 1-0.
Sharpie. We'll have more scores from Keith. Adabla. Mfeka. Good combination. Melosi is in. Melosi fears nobody, but going the other way, the counterattack here for the Eagles. Trying to play it into space, a little bit too strong for number 14, Xavier Silva.
Old Dominion 3, High Point 2, two teams that always entertain, and we've seen both of those teams in the past on the college games of the week. And speaking of that, last year Michigan we saw right here against South Florida, and they open up Shaka Daly with a 5-2 win over Loyola Chicago.
Keep an eye out for Michigan this year. They made it to the NCAA tournament in his first year on the job, Michigan did, and Shaka Daly has them believing up there.
Well, he has them believing, and they have the resources to really put together a fantastic program, and I would think Shaka is going to fit the bill to be the coach to do that. Another coach trying to bring a program back to the spotlight. Penn State, Bob Warming's squad defeats Radford 1-0. Notre Dame, UCLA, one of the highlight games of the weekend, 0-0 at Notre Dame. That's a final. Clemson, Mike Noonan wins his opener 2-0 over Mercer. I'll come back with a couple more in a second.
Boy, the Eagles try to start the counter, taken away, though, by Sweat. Look at Sweat go. He's just gone 50 yards in about 3 seconds. One too many touches will go off of him, and Ben Sweat just getting going.
Yeah, maybe going just a little too fast for that as the defender made a good play.
Ball played in the middle of the field. One back by USF. They'll switch it to the right side. Salinas has some space. Salinas on the right side. He'll look up. He'll find Mfeka. Now right side. Back to Salinas. Salinas down near the corner flag. Salinas trying to earn a corner kick, and he does. And as they get ready to line up for this, we'll hold off on the convention news. They are going to switch goalkeepers, and as they do that, I want to tell you that registration for the 2014 NSCA convention is now open. You can join 10,000 of your coaching peers for soccer's biggest party this January 15 through 19 in Philadelphia. To learn more, go to nscaa.com/convention. Corner kick here now for USF. Husseini, who's got the game winner. If it ended right now, send it in. Foul called, though, and it'll be restarted.
Yeah, he did. Husseini sent in. That was a really good ball he sent in, but unlike usual for South Florida, they didn't have any runs in the box. Once that ball was laid back, they were just all static there. Dean, you want to hear the last few more scores? Because there's a couple good ones here. Syracuse, 4-0 over Colgate. And I say that because I saw Syracuse play Georgetown in preseason a week ago. Remember, Georgetown knocked Syracuse out of the NCAA tournament last year. Syracuse was winning that game with 2 minutes left. Georgetown knocks them out and goes to the College Cup final. 4-0 over Colgate, 3-1 last week over Georgetown. I think Ian McIntyre's got something really good going there. We're going to see Akron on the college game of the week, and they defeated College at Charleston 2-0, and Creighton 2-0 over Tulsa.
How about this substitution? We actually thought it was George Kiefer that was going to play two goalkeepers, but instead it's Bob Butehorn who's brought in Danny George, the sophomore from Safety Harbor, Florida, and he'll come into the game replacing Nathan Ingham.
And I'm not sure why. Yeah, I'm not too sure why that was made. I'll comment on it in a second.
Sharpie comes back in support, keeps it inbounds. It'll be a throw in here for the Eagles.
Looks like Sharpie is down as well. In the second, Dean, I want to go back to that substitution, but we'll wait till after this attack. Because, again, it is so unusual to substitute goalkeepers unless there's an injury. And so I'll bring that up now. The one thing about the sub, do you remember that he actually had the goalkeeper there prior to the corner kick? But the thing is, he decided not to put him in, which was a really good move because it's one of the most dangerous times to do a substitution is on when you're defending on restarts. Teams up there, they're kind of set. Somebody new comes in, and so many times I've seen that happen and goals scored and being disorganized. So whatever the reason was for the sub, the decision to wait until after the corner kick was a good one.
Well said, Coach. More subs here now as George Kiefer will go to his bench. Corbett Soccer Stadium here on the campus of USF. Can they tie it right here? They may be able to. The goal is open. It's squared across. Somehow it's cleared off, and then it's finished. And we are tied at 2. Is crashing in there. Santiago Echeverry, and just like that, it's tied at 2. Sloppy right there. They came forward. The goalkeeper came out, Dallas J., and can you believe it? 2-2.
I tell you what, I believe that it's 2-2. I can't believe how that just happened, though. The way, because you said sloppy again coming out. The ball bounced. It almost looked like they weren't going to get to it, and Echeverry gets in at the end there. Where were the defenders? Recovering after it was sloppy. No one recovering. There was one Florida Gulf Coast player after another with a chance there. This time Echeverry doesn't sky it over. Of course, I think if it was 3 yards further back, it might have. But
he did almost.
Let's say he finished emphatically to make up for the one he put over before. But
he sins the nets, no doubt about it, and we are tied at 2. Ten minutes after midnight and still have 30 minutes to go here. The Ohio State Buckeyes fell in double overtime to UNC Wilmington 2-1 in Columbus. Meanwhile, Indiana came back to beat SMU by a score of 2-1.
And we're still waiting on that score from Maryland, Stanford. And it's Maryland playing Stanford. We had Georgetown playing Cal, and they'll flip-flop on Sunday. Georgetown, Stanford, and Maryland, Cal.
Tied at 2 here. Youth clubs and players want to be noticed by the top college programs, and the NSCAA can help through its partnership with Elite Tournaments. The NSCAA College Showcase connects you with the college coaches so you can show off your talents. Clubs, players, and college coaches can find more information at nscaa.com/events. And we are here on nscaatv.com from Tampa, Florida. Tied at 2. Promised an entertaining one by both these coaches, George Kiefer and Bob Buthorn. And these talented players have not disappointed. A little bit of sloppy play out there, but both these teams capitalizing when they can.
Yeah, and interestingly, sloppy play that's led to a couple goals, but good play in between all that. So very good, entertaining stuff that, Bob said it does look like the first game of the season, but in fairness, I think there's some pretty decent stuff that we're seeing.
Less than 28 minutes left here in regulation. Xavier Silva trying to play Echeverry, who just equalized into space.
We just have 2 more good scores coming in. UNC defeats Monmouth 1-0 in the opener, and there's a big one. Louisville 2-1 over UVA.
Wow.
We see Louisville later in the year as well, as they will be hosting UConn in one of our games of the week. I believe our lone Saturday game. Kenny Lola down in Louisville doing an outstanding job and always a great host to us.
Middle of the field. Mata. And Mata will get it back. Hard tackle coming in there was Stephen Oliveri. And Oliveri looks like he'll get a card. Yeah, Oliveri with the card. Under 27 minutes. Kept alive there by number 15, Marcus Epps. Gave George Kiefer some quality minutes in the first half, Keith.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that could be a deciding factor in this game as we get maybe in another 10 minutes might be guys coming off the bench, because there's been a little bit of a lull over the last 5 or 10 minutes. And so I think, fairly soon we're probably going to see both coaches look to try to put that final run and going into the last 15 minutes when they get there.
Left side. Florida Gulf Coast had just equalized. Now they were looking to take the lead. Good defense coming back. Husini and Salinas. Now the right side. Here comes the Bulls. Ill-advised ball there, though, from Edwin Malozzi. One back in the middle by the Eagles. One more time. Number 17, Isaiah Madrid, has looked good since coming on here for Bob Buthorn. This will fall now quick to Echeverry. Echeverry with the equalizer. He'll switch it back over to Madrid. Madrid just outside the 18, marked by 2 USF Bulls players. This one will be knocked out of bounds, and it'll be a throw-in for Bob Buthorn's Eagles. In just a moment, see how this settles down, we'll be joined by the Senior Associate Director of Athletics here at USF, Barry Clemens. Throw in. This one will sail over. It's a little bit of trouble and handled, though, finally there, though, by the goalkeeper, Dallas J. And that's a perfect opportunity to welcome in Barry Clemens, the Senior Associate Director of Athletics here. Been at USF since 1983. You're a MAC guy like me, Ball State and Kent State.
That's right.
I went to OU, but I know you're loving it down here at USF.
Oh, love it here. Yeah, I got here, thought I'd be here a couple years, and moving on in my career, and it was just a great place to be with a lot of potential and constant growth, and it's just been a wonderful ride.
Promoted to his current position in 2007, sports administrator for men's and women's basketball, men's and women's soccer, track and cross country. And, of course, the key part is men's and women's soccer. Nice performance by Denise Schulte Brown's team in that 1-1 tie. And now you get to see George Kiefer. Hang on one second, though, Barry, as this team is dangerous. Sent back in on the ball right here now is Thomas. Still loose. Here's a shot and a goal. And hammered just like that is Edwin Melosi. 3-2 USF.
Wow.
Barry, what do you got to say about that goal? Give us a little color right there.
That was, oh, man, that was outstanding. We needed that. I was a little nervous here. This has been a barn burner. Outstanding.
It has been a barn burner. That's George Kiefer's soccer, though. Very entertaining. Now we've got a little bit of shenanigans going on.
Yeah, these two teams get after it. They, especially, the last time we played Florida Gulf Coast was here last year in the NCAA tournament.
George Kiefer down there policing everything as well. Let's see what happens here. The referee trying to get some opinions from the assistant referee here on the near side. One thing we do, well, let's see here. Let's see what happens here. They're going to wave this one off, I believe. And they're going to say flag is up. So much for that celebration, Barry. Nonetheless, we still got a lot to celebrate here, though, including the great Corbett Soccer Stadium. Touch on the facilities and the crowd atmosphere here, because it's fantastic.
This is unbelievable. This is just a great home field advantage place to play. It's incredible with the berms and the structure and the whole setup. And we really had a great place to play before in our old soccer stadium. And that's used by both track and field, or was used by track and field and soccer, now just track and field. And to have an opportunity to have our own place to play was one thing, but it just turned out way beyond my expectations. It's a great place to watch soccer, and again, we get I think a real good home field advantage here, and our students are real supportive of this. With the berms, they love to be all over them, and we didn't have that at our old stadium, so it makes quite a difference.
Still tied at 2. The Bulls goal taken away there as the flag went up for George Kiefer's team. But talk about what George has done here in 12 years.
George has done an amazing job. He's just about excellence, and I think 7 of the last 8 years we've been to the NCAAs, and we've been twice in the final 8, and real close to being as good as anybody in the country. I mean, a couple years ago, there's no doubt that we were right there on the verge when we got beat at Creighton in overtime, and could have easily won a national championship that year. And I think this program, it's going to happen, and it's going to happen soon. And George has just done a tremendous job helping us get there.
Great shot a moment ago by Wes Sharpie, but just like that, Bob Butehorn's Eagles team can counter the other way, as we're joined here in the booth by Barry Clemens, the Senior Associate Director of Athletics right here at USF. And I know one of the things that is near and dear to you is the student-athlete part of this whole equation. And with the administration's support, how important is the student-athlete role here at USF?
Well, it's real important to us, and I think that's what it's all about. And that's how I first got into athletics and wanted to be in athletics, was being involved in the student welfare piece. And fortunately, I still am. And I talk to our athletes, and I've talked to all of our teams at the beginning of the year here, and I just emphasize that we've got some unbelievable people that truly care about them, and they're difference makers, and they're here because they do care, and they want to help them, and they want to give them the best experience they can. We want them to come here and have fun, get a great academic challenge, and succeed academically, but all the other support services, whether it's enhancing their performance and strength and conditioning or taking care of them medically, we're going to give them the best that we can, and we've got some great people that do that.
Well said. And finally, just a comment about the new conference, the American Athletic Conference, and what it means for USF.
Well, I think it's great, and I think it's even going to raise the bar for a lot of our sports, and it's going to be a great challenge. There's some great teams and great schools in that conference, and we're really looking forward to it for something that's new and to try to go out and win as many conference championships as we can in the first year. That's what it's all about, and it's going to be just some wonderful, great competition. So we're looking forward to it, and especially with UCF just down the road in Orlando, now being in the same conference with them, it's going to make a big difference in our competition against them.
Barry Clemens, extremely involved in the overall building of USF's athletic training center, and since coming on in 2002, the Bulls soccer team here, the men's side, all they've done is advance to 7 consecutive postseason tournaments, including the program's first ever NCAA tournament in 2006 and again in 2012. And Barry, thanks for being a great host. I know the weather dampened things just a little bit, but check it out. It's almost 12:30 and a great crowd out here. They love their soccer program.
It's not raining anymore, so it's been a great night. So hopefully we'll pull it out here, and it'll be even a better night. But thanks so much for having me.
Oh, it's our
Appreciate
pleasure.
You guys being here.
Oh, we're delighted to be here, Barry. Thanks for the great job you do, and good to meet a fellow MAC guy as well.
Right. That's right.
All right.
So much.
Thank you. Barry Clemens, the Senior Associate Director of Athletics, stopping by the booth here. Delighted to be joined by him. We also earlier heard from Doug Woolard, the Athletic Director at USF. Very proud of everything they've accomplished. Meanwhile, it's 2-2. Keith the Batstick. The flag was up. What was going on that play?
A lot was going on in that play, but what wasn't was a goal. It looked like they had scored a goal, wide open net, a good finish, and evidently offside had been flagged at some point in there. And when the referee went over to discuss it, sure enough, did it. And when they first went over, it's hard to know exactly what they were discussing, and certainly the way that the Florida Gulf Coast players were charging over there, there was certainly something on their mind. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to hear, if we do get to hear an explanation afterwards.
Meanwhile, that means it's still 2-2 as Aaron Guillen, the center back for Bob Butehoorn's team, wearing number 33, comes forward for the moment.
Well, Dean, you know that it has to be 2-2 because we know the game has to go to overtime because there was a 2-hour delay and the first game went to overtime.
Reverse psychology is what I'm hoping for here as Oliveri plays it over to Robledo. They call him Chippy. And they'll say the foul is against USF as Robledo gets held up. And it looked like Gerardo Hernandez, who has come into the game, gets the whistle.
And we do got some subs. Salinas trying to come back in the game for South Florida. And oh, here we go again. We're going to get a free kick again. DeSouza drew the foul, and we can be 99.9% sure that DeSouza is going to strike this free kick as he did in the first half. And, well, if you weren't watching in the first half, you need to go and have a look at this free kick from, what would you say, Dean, 35 yards out probably, straight on and rockets into the lower corner.
Yeah, D'Souza absolutely hammered it in the first half, and he's looking to do it again. He was born in Brazil. This one is even closer, though, Keith. You're right.
It's close enough for somebody else to try to put over the wall, but
oh no!
He did.
Boy, how do you do that?
Well, I said 99%, so that was the 1%.
That's a very
yeah. But I don't know. I got to be honest with you. You got somebody hitting a ball like that. Yeah, put it this way: if you don't put it in, you might knock out one of their players or something. You just pick the smallest guy in the wall and aim right at the head, and it goes in the upper corner usually. At least that's how I coached it. It didn't always happen.
He's Keith Tabatsik. I'm Dean Linke. Delighted to be with you the entire evening here in Tampa, Florida. This one will roll out of bounds, and it'll come back to the Bulls as George Kiefer looking to make another change. Terry Delancey, the sophomore, hoping to check in. And Delancey actually helped the Bulls reach the second round of the tournament last season, appearing in 15 games. Born in the Bahamas. And coming out, the Ghana superstar, Adabla.
I got to tell you, I'd really love to, I don't miss the recruiting side of college coaching. But if I was recruiting at the places that George Kiefer's going to, I think I'd be okay with that, actually.
Well said. He certainly has found some decent pockets. Trinidad and Tobago, another one as well. Good give and go. This one dropped into space, but the flag is up again as back into the game is the talented number 12, Lindo Mfeka, one of the top recruits. Coming in here, number 12, and he has been dynamic indeed.
And as we remind you again, the substitution rules in the NCAA, in the second half, you can actually enter a second time. So you may see some of these players go out, and you wonder why. It's because they can go back in. And over the course of the season, we'll see teams... I don't know if take advantage of that's the right word. I'm not sure how you say it, but use that rule to varying degrees. I will say some of the biggest pleasures have been a couple of the games where we've seen Akron, for example, with Caleb. I think one game used just 2 subs and was such a good rhythm the whole time.
Yeah, looking forward to that game in Akron as well as taking out Jared Embick, who has come in and done a nice job. As you mentioned, already got a win. He was such a key part of the recruiting there anyway, tied to the talented Caleb Porter, who's done an amazing job at Major League Soccer, of course.
Yeah, it's in Portland, and a young coach going there with such a good coaching pedigree, though. And I think we've seen so many guys going from just playing and being young coaches, and having a real tough learning curve. And when you see somebody like Caleb going in there, and you see just what a special profession coaching is, and it's not easy. You just can't walk into it, and no matter what type of player you were or anything like that. And Caleb has really put the stamp onto Portland the same way that he did with Akron.
This one dropped. One-time bounce to Jay.
So, Dean, I want to remind everybody on your shows on Tuesdays on NSCATV.com, all the wrap-ups and everything about the NCAA, all the different divisions. Goes deeper than just Division I as you guys look into the top 10 and the top 25s with 1, 2, and 3 and the NAIA and all the other good stuff that you have for us. And we certainly appreciate that. And the ability to stay in touch with the game from wherever you are nowadays, once a week with a specially dedicated show is awesome to have. And thank Joe Cummings and the NSCAA for putting that sort of thing together for us.
Yeah, and the good folks at Continental Tire as well. Lumber Liquidators also joining in on the fun. Shattuck, St. Mary's, Disney Soccer, and Soccer.com. Got to thank those corporate partners, Keith. Thanks for bringing that up.
Absolutely.
2-2, 12 minutes, 10 seconds left to go here in regulation. Husseini with the second goal. Played over to Sharpie. Sharpie. Another one of those tough balls played to Ponich.
Yeah, it really was. Like I said, this is just, this is the big weakness to me of South Florida. The thing is, it's not a one-off thing. It seems to be all the time, that just too casual. And even, George Kiefer, kind of addressed it at halftime as well. And, in a different way of how he said it. But you just can't be casual there. That you play good teams and you get punished when you do that. It looks like Florida Gulf Coast will be trying to get Skylar Wilkes in. Junior, local boy, junior from Tampa, Florida. So maybe he's hoping a local boy becomes the hero.
Gian bombs one to the 18 as Wilkes still waits. Epps is over there for the Bulls. Foul on the Eagles, and now USF will start it. Under 11 minutes. Melosi will come back in for USF as Skylar Wilkes will also come in on the other side, as Keith talked about. Melosi will come on, and he will replace number 6, Dwayne Muckett.
Oh, that was a handball, wasn't it? Yeah, the referee was on top of that. It was an intentional hand, and actually, there's nothing really dangerous about that. It was an absolute intentional handball, and you're supposed to get booked for that.
Mfeka did not get booked. 10 minutes left here, Keith. What are you expecting?
Well, I don't think we're going to see much different than what we've been seeing the last 10 minutes. I think what could happen is if we get one person just gets on the end of something, like I said, kind of a hero sort of play, because both teams have slowed down considerably, both in their physical efforts and the focus also. So there really right now is no flavor to either team, So I think what's going to happen, can ball get up and there's a mistake and someone pounces on it, or you got another one of those crosses from, from Sharpie or from some Sweat that gets through there.
Sadua with the yellow. We'll see if it happens, Keith. 1-1 here at Corbett Soccer Stadium on the campus of USF in Tampa, Florida. The second of two here after a couple-hour rain delay, lightning delay, as it often happens in Tampa, and we're still playing soccer as we roll on to 12:33, and we could be looking at a 1 a.m. curtain call here.
Well, you could go straight to the airport, Dean, I think, could you? Almost.
Free kick opportunity for Lindo Mfeka. He'll play it back here to Husseini. Bumped off the ball there was Gerardo Hernandez. Husseini trying to play one into space. This could be a big-time ball for Sweat. Sweat is there. Sweat looks up. Sweat wants to get it inside the 18. See if he can do it with his right foot. Sent back across. Couple players lurking there in front of the goalkeeper who came on, interestingly enough. Danny George replaced Nathan Ingham. Run down there by Delancey. Husseini lost his shoe. They'll play on as Husseini will try to get his shoe back on. Coming back, he'll stay onside. Not sure how he does it. This one will drop. Ooh. And he was pretty wide open there in front of the goal, but not able to finish.
He was really wide open, and just what poor technique that was. Everything.
Terry Delancey, Keith, sorry.
Yeah, leaning back and all that. And that was an easy pass into the goal. He didn't even have to shoot that one. And you don't get opportunities like that too much. In fact, he even had a lot more time than he thought. Also, he could probably taken a little half toucher before putting it in.
How about the faithful here still hanging out?
No, I tell you, it is quite good when you think of the time right now and how many people have stayed around a little bit. It's been quite good, and I'd be interested to know what would have the attendance have been had everything gone right on time. It's a little hard as it's spread out with all the rain delays.
Throw in.
Now this ball popping out here, and this is Sweat going down, and this is where they could be really dangerous.
Let's see what happens. Sweat, couple step overs. He gets inside. This one is indeed dangerous. Epps tries to keep it alive, but it'll finally fall into the hands of the replacement goalkeeper here, Danny George.
Yeah, and the thing with Sweat there, Dean, is the fact that they're playing him to try to not allow him to go to his left foot, and he actually cuts that inside towards the middle to his right foot and lays off a really sweet pass. It's actually been a while since Florida Gulf Coast has had a good look at goal, and I think they've tired considerably. And what they need to do is they can't afford to just keep defending like this, because if it goes to overtime, you're not just looking for 6 more minutes of this game. You could be looking at 26 minutes.
Sweat. Five and change. Other way here now for the Eagles. Sedua. And there's Webb. Not totally cleared. And this one will just roll out of bounds.
But that starts with Sedua's pass. I mean, he's really playing something that has very little chance of connecting. And he's got the ball. He has no pressure on him. And that's a time, find a 1-2 or try to go at the player. But, once, their bread and butter is keeping the ball when they get it to create things. And they've been getting the ball, and I realize they're tired, but that's even more reason to focus on the simple stuff.
Sweat will lose it. Squared. Saravia, he'll lose it. Here come the Bulls. Malozzi. Mfeka. He'll look up. He'll see a lot of blue jerseys. Mfeka will try to beat him on their own. Nifty back heel. It'll fall to Malozzi. Malozzi, Sharpie's calling for it. They'll give it to Sharpie. Sharpie's got some space. Malozzi still on the right. They close that down. Now he's looking for options. Can he switch it? He can. This will fall here to Hernandez. Hernandez gets it over to Sweat. Sweat will look up. Sweat with that left foot. He'll hit that one just a little bit. It still stays in bounds. It's still loose. Finally cleared out of there by Guillen. Now right side. Oh, and a missed touch by Sharpie.
I think Sharpie tries to go so fast sometimes that, it's like, throwing the ball before you've caught it in baseball or something. He's trying to get by the guy before he's had a touch. And, again, he'll need, just watching him right here, he's obviously got a lot of talent, but he'll need to get a little more rhythm in his game. Going to try to go into the next level.
This one dropped over the top. Sedua will run it down. He'll get around Pawnich. Sedua is in. He'll square it. Sweat came back to track it down, and that allows Jay to gobble it up.
Yeah, I tell you what, it wasn't a bad idea the pass, but I would have loved to see him to keep going, because he was another touch away from having a very good look at goal himself. It did an outstanding job of winning the ball back. But this seems to be the rhythm. If you want, it's not a rhythm. This seems to be the script for the last 15 minutes. Couple passes, do something, give it to the other team. They do a couple passes and give it back. And I think everyone's hoping someone's going to make a mistake.
Still loose, pinging around. Cleaned up by Pawnich. Husini came back to play it. Dropped over the top. Adabla's there. Behind him is Mfeka. Can he keep it alive?
Yeah, that's a good call. Yeah. That could have been the mistake we were talking about, but he recovered well.
2 minutes and 30 seconds could be end-to-end here in the final 150. Overtime looming again. If you're just tuning in, yes, we're still live here. This one too long.
This is not the replay.
Well, it could be, but
yes,
it's still 12:40 at night here in Tampa, Florida. Nearly a 2-hour delay, and then the USF women and Clemson women went to overtime and couldn't settle it. Tied at 1. USF got an early goal to start this one. It was equalized in the first half by Florida Gulf Coast, and then USF with a lead again. They tie it. Looked like they had the winner. The flag came up, and overtime is probably happening again.
It looks that way, and I guess if you look at it as a coach, maybe you just goes and say it stays tied. You look at you got a little fitness workout out of it as well early in the season, but I'm a little surprised that, and maybe they're waiting out. They're obviously waiting out for overtime. That some of the subs, haven't come in this last 10 minutes. And I think Florida Gulf Coast has quite a number of players warming up, and maybe they'll have a significantly new look going into the overtime. Maybe a few different attacking players are not likely to move the backs at all unless somebody has to come out because of injury or too much fatigue.
Adabla will take a shot. Nicked out of there just in time, though, by Vega. Flag was up anyway, though. Kennedy Salorm Adabla has scored a ton of goals over at Ghana, and now he's in Tampa, hoping to do the same thing for the Bulls. He got one 3 minutes in. It's going the other way. This is dangerous. Ricardo Webb.
Once again, not really being that clean, but I'll tell you, this is what we're talking about, just a mistake, and almost just by accident, that could have been a little ping-pong off the heads and right in front of a Florida Gulf Coast player.
Robledo.
That's a good ball.
Can they steal one here in the final seconds? Marked over there by Sharpie. It'll go out of bounds, and it will be a goal kick, and with 13 seconds left, Indeed will have more soccer from Tampa.
How about that? What else are you going to do tonight in Tampa? What else at 12:42? It's either soccer or bed, right?
Wow. After 90 minutes of play, it's USF 2 and Florida Gulf Coast 2 right here on NSCAA TV.
Well, I'll tell you, while we had this little break, you had a show not too long ago on the announcement of all the Mac Herman Trophy lists and the candidates, and you were asking me what I thought about it. And on the men's side, Patrick Mullins from Maryland, who we're going to see on Friday against Duke, he won this last year, and he decided not to go into the MLS, and he's back for his senior year, and he's probably the favorite, but as opposed to the women's favorite, who's Crystal Dunn, from UNC, and she's almost for sure, unless something happens, she's such a likely candidate to repeat for them. Patrick Mullins could have a little bit more of a problem there, Dean. It's been a long time for a goalkeeper, if ever, to have won the Mac Herman Trophy. But this year, look for maybe the UConn goalkeeper, Andrew Blake. That's my long shot pick. I won't say a long shot, only because he's a goalkeeper and it usually goes to an attacking player, but this kid is special, and he has started every single game in his UConn career. He has 27 shutouts, and by the way, he can win games with his saves. It's not just doing normal things. He pulls stuff out of the hat that's hard to believe. I watched him play against Georgetown at Georgetown last year. UConn won the game. I think it was 1-0. I can't remember, but it was a one-goal game, and he won the game. Not the goal scorers, but Andrew Blake. UConn teammate, and we're going to see UConn also has a chance. Mamadou Diouf. And here's the thing with him. At times, the most talented player in the country, just not day in and day out and not within every game, that consistency. If he can bring that this year, he would have a chance. And you look at others such as Steve Newman from Georgetown or Robbie Christo from St. Louis. And my opinion is those guys will be in contention if their teams make good runs as well. But Pat Mullins may be the leading candidate, but I'm gonna go with Andrew Blake right now. It's gonna be my pick after one game.
I like that
season.
pick.
I like
yeah.
that.
And I'll tell you what, Ray Reid's famous for having those dynamic goalkeepers as well. I like that pick a lot.
Absolutely. In fact, the goalkeeper coach for South Florida, Brahim Hancock, former UConn player, and was there when George Kiefer was the assistant coach for Ray Reid, and hence the connection. So, the registration for the 2014 NSCA convention is now open. Join 10,000 of your coaching peers and Dean Linke's friends for soccer's biggest party this January 15th through 19th in Philadelphia, city of brotherly love, and we'll guarantee that you will learn something new from the world's best clinicians and gain new connections by attending one of the many networking socials. You can even get your coaching diplomas during the week. Visit nscaa.com/convention for all event details, and you can also come and say hello to Dean Linking and Keith Tabatsnik.
I look forward to being there with you, Keith, as always, and certainly have enjoyed our time, even extra time here in Tampa, Florida, as rolling on here with another overtime game, less than 2 minutes away from getting this first overtime started, Keith, and I'll let you remind everybody again the rules here in overtime, just so everybody knows.
Yes, since 1997, the NCAA went to the golden goal rule. There are 2 10-minute periods. However, if there is a goal scored, the game is over. No goal scored, it goes down as a tie. And the only time that they break the ties with penalty kicks is when you go into the postseason play, either conference tournaments or of course, the NCAAs. And speaking of that, this is exactly where these guys were last year at the end of the season in the NCAA tournament. It was 0-0 at the end of 2 overtimes, and Florida Gulf Coast was defeated by South Florida 5-3 on penalty kicks. South Florida moving on to the second round where they were defeated by Tulsa, another team that we will see on one of our college games of the week.
Good stuff from Keith Tabatsnik, the longtime coach at Georgetown, and has been in the booth for pretty much every possible game as part of the NSCAA Game of the Week. And we keep it going here on NSCAATV.com as we kick off with a doubleheader in Tampa. And we're delayed by the lightning that is familiar in August, September in Tampa, Florida. We saw multiple lightning strikes right here hovering over Corbett Soccer Stadium. Probably too many to count, huh, Keith?
Well, I'll tell you what, as a matter of fact, I think that the only place there were lightning strikes was over this field. Looking around, you could actually see some daylight in different parts of the area. It was just a small but very powerful cell that came this way and parked right over the field for a while. And, of course, the NCAA rules when there's any lightning strikes or things like that, for every one you have to wait a minimum of 30 minutes. Before you can resume play, and then of course the teams needed some time to warm up for safety reasons, of course, and getting ready. So every time there's a lightning strike, it was another effectively 45 minutes.
All right, we're getting ready here now to start the first 10 minutes of overtime. George Kiefer still with that smile on his face. Good-hearted guy, George Kiefer. Bob Buthorn as well for Florida Gulf Coast, the Eagles.
But make no mistake, they are highly competitive, and they get an occasional smile on their face during the games and everything like that. Their focus is on one thing, is getting the teams to find ways to win these games. And they hope to do it in the fashion that they like to play, but if they don't, they'll take it a different way when they have to.
All right.
Well, Dean, we used to call these one-shot games if you can. Just get out there, one shot, and go home. And we're very fortunate. In 1997, the first year that they had the golden goal, Georgetown, we were in 5 of those games and ended up winning all 5 of them. And it was just a fine line between having a good season and a great season. Based on somebody being able to knock that ball into the net and. Early in these overtimes, usually they didn't usually make me wait around too long, but made the college game a lot more exciting, I think.
No, indeed. I remember one of the first games you and I did together out in UCLA in Maryland, and that went to overtime. And at the Home Depot Center at the time, it was called before it went to StubHub. And
yes,
if you remember that game, Maryland
Rodney
winning
Wallace.
it. That's right.
Remember Rodney Wallace coming out from the back at left midfield and winning that game in overtime.
See if Ben Sweat can do the same thing. Right off the bat, drops it in. Flag is up, though. Doesn't matter. And once again, the offside flag wreaking havoc. We thought we had it as we were joined up here by Barry Clemens, the Senior Associate Director of Athletics. We thought he was the lucky charm for USF. And
you would have thought he would have had the power to overrule that or something,
I think he was a little shocked that he sat down and a big old goal happened, but it didn't happen. So nonetheless, Mfeka, a little give and go. Malozzi will try to run it down. Mfeka is behind him. Back to Mfeka. He could finish. Mfeka down. Rebounded Off of George. Flag stays down. It's still loose, and now the counterattack could be on. Charging in and held up there, but no whistle was Husseini. Boy, I thought that was it right there, Keith.
Well, he hit that ball solid, and George did not, was not able to hold that ball or even get it out of a danger area. I think he was almost caught like looked like his feet were anchored down a little bit, trying to make that save, and at least he got in front of it to get it out. And we have a South Florida player down on one side, and Florida Gulf Coast player knocked pretty hard on that tackle.
Player's still down, and the clock is stopped. Now the player is up, so they'll start it up again here. Throw in for number 2, Luis Vega. Epps looks a little banged up. The Eagles. Good move, good turn. Francisco Mata is fouled.
And what's interesting now is most of the time Florida Gulf Coast has tried to put the ball down and play fast, and we see if they, now where it's just one shot that could win the game, you wonder if they're just going to try to get it in there and hope for something. And it does happen from time to time, although the percentages are fairly low, dumping a ball in from there. I'm saying that because I want to be jinxing it so something happens here.
Yellow card. And Fecca with the yellow card. Driven in, driven out. Foul called anyway as they tussle around. 7 minutes and 30 seconds left here in the first overtime.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I just don't like those free kicks like that. There's just so seldom you see something come of it. And a team that likes to keep the ball is good at it. Just put the ball down and play it and pull the other team out. Make it look like you're going to do that. Then play it short, and the other team has to come out, and then maybe you can serve it in. There's some spaces in behind.
Melosi. Not sure if he was thinking about chipping one there or not. Staying into the game here still is Gerardo Hernandez, the junior. Hernandez can play any one of the central spots for George Kiefer, and that's where he sat the majority of this time. Good give and go. The Eagles. Flag stays down now. I thought it was going to come up. Yeah.
He looked offside. He was waiting to see if the guy was going to be involved in the play, and sure enough. Well, 6 minutes left in the first overtime period. Effectively one chance so far for South Florida. Good shot on target.
The Bulls. Adebla. Left side. Sweat. Boy, he hammered that.
He got a little more of that than he wanted, that's for sure.
Melosi will win it back, though, for USF. It'll fall, and Hernandez not even close. It'll be out of bounds as we approach 5 minutes and 20 seconds.
Halfway through this period, they'll have a sub here for Florida Gulf Coast shortly. Number 17, Isaiah Madrid. I guess he's not going to go in right now.
Ball pinging around. Under 5 minutes left in this one, Keith. In the first overtime anyway. Here come the Eagles.
Ooh.
Wow.
He was thinking of the major highlight film shot there, but that's not going to happen from back there. And again, this is a lack of focus and concentration. When you do something like that, you know when you're doing it, it's not going to happen. And yet you actually have a good situation there. It's an open field, and you got some stuff going. So that's the bit of maturity they're going to have to come up with. So Isaiah Madrid he's a freshman who was played with the Real Salt Lake Academy in Phoenix. From Albuquerque, New Mexico.
And he's on it now. Madrid trying to get something going here for the visitors from Florida Gulf Coast. Pushing and shoving going on. Madrid keeps the ball. He'll drop it quickly here to Oliveri, and Oliveri will bring it all the way back to Aaron Guillen. Now played back in the middle to Oliveri. Oliveri looking for options, and he's got Madrid on his right. Instead, he'll decide to go right down the middle, trying to find the head of Xavier Silva. A little bit too strong is Jordan Gooden hoping to check in here for Bob Butehorn, the big man. Talked to Jordan Gooden about the athletic program at Florida Gulf Coast. He said when Dunk City was going on, there really is a close-knit family. He said everybody hangs out with each other as athletes. And, boy, I tell you, they rallied around that incredible basketball program. And he said the basketball team then rallies around the soccer team and right on down the list. So pretty close-knit group there for Florida Gulf Coast.
Which is good. It's not a memory that I care to think about too much. Well, of course, they beat Georgetown, but, in all fairness, credit to them. They won that game, just out and out fair and square from the beginning to the end.
Adabla. The Eagles putting some passes together. Flag stays down. Can they get one on target here? This one will fall. Gooden was trying to run it down. 2 minutes left. Let's see if the Bulls can get the counter going. Try to stay with it. Hard foul on Sweat. He comes down hard. A tackle there by Luis Vega, and Vega will get the yellow as he comes in hard on Sweat.
Yeah, no question about that. Out-and-out yellow card right away. He came in hard and came in late.
And exactly 2 minutes left here in this first overtime as players starting to cramp up.
Actually, what's interesting, Dean, is actually it's the first time we've really seen a cramp going. It's a bit humid outside, and you would have expected some more of that with the game going on so long, and also how long they've had to wait. Because it'll be very unlikely that they had the proper type of nutrition that you would normally get, in your timing, going into a game.
Yeah, you even said even your pregame meal was thrown off quite a bit from the extra couple hours. Less than 2 minutes. The Bulls will get that whistle. Sharpie will circle back. Still on it. That was going to be offside, but instead they play it out wide to Cameron Thomas. Thomas, can he do something with it? Boy, I'll tell you what, that's good defending right there by number 2, Luis Vega.
Very smart, Luis Vega's letting that ball go out of bounds, and just a little over 1 minute here as we have this game that started on August 30th, and it's now August 31st, Dean, and hopefully it'll be done by September 1st. There's a chance, Dean, as it just hit 1 a.m., there's a chance that maybe a player will fall asleep and somebody will score because of that,
They've been out here a long time,
Yes.
make no mistake about it.
The ball boys have to be falling asleep all over
man.
the place. I'm guessing if there are any morning practices scheduled, they will be canceled. See, Florida Gulf Coast still has to drive back tonight. they're busting back to tonight because it's not I'm guessing 3 hours maybe. If it was a normal game time, it would be getting home right about now.
As it is, they won't be busing for a little bit longer, though, as we're 10 seconds away from going to the second overtime. And as they count down the final 6, they could crank one up here. Let's see if they do. We're at 2, 1, and with that horn, it won't even matter. So 100 minutes, not enough here in this second one, so we are going to have more soccer. And after 100 minutes of play on NSCAATV.com, it's USF 2 and Florida Gulf Coast 2.
Yeah, and again, I think it's easy to see that in this this whole overtime and the last 20 minutes of the second half that there's been no rhythm in the game from either team, and they really, honestly, you can understand that they're tired and things like that, but there needs to be some leadership on either team to try to pull them back in, and this is where you got to squeeze some quality minutes because it's only going to take 1 or 2 minutes of a team really focusing and sustaining pressure to win this game, and I think both teams are just okay with just being okay right now, and hoping that I think there's a lot of players out there hoping that one of their teammates is going to be the big player and be the hero. We at the Continental Tire, NSCA Continental Tire Division I National Preseason Rankings. The only rankings that have come out so far. The first in-season rankings will happen next week, September 3rd. And number 1, of course, was our defending national champion, Indiana, who won their opening game tonight against SMU. Followed by Maryland, who we'll see next week. And again, tune in next week at College Park, Maryland. Sasso Shirovsky's Terrapins playing John Kerr Jr.'s Duke Blue Devils. And always a huge game at College Park. They have set crowd records there all the time. I would expect 8,000 at a minimum. Georgetown coming in preseason at number 3. However, they lost their opener to Cal and need to find a way to get things going while preseason. I don't put a ton on it. They lost both of their preseason games, and they need to find some sort of rhythm this year. And I've always said one of the hardest things is winning after winning, and they got a bullseye on their back, and hopefully they'll bounce back against Stanford. North Carolina, who had a opening game win tonight, number 4. UConn also won tonight. They're number 5. Creighton won tonight. Elmer Bolovich's team, who his son, by the way, starting goalkeeper for Creighton. Followed by Notre Dame, Akron, and UCLA. Now, Notre Dame and UCLA played to a 0-0 draw, sitting at 7 and 9. And Akron we're going to see later in the season on Tuesday, I think it's the 22nd of September. And rounding out the top 10, Dean, is Louisville, yet another team that we're going to see. In fact, if we look at the top 10 here, you got Maryland, Connecticut, Akron, Louisville, that we're all going to see on the games of the week, minimally those teams, and quite a few more. Tulsa, we look down the road, down the line there, they'll be on as well. And like I said, Syracuse sitting at number 20, impressive opening win tonight. And like I said, I watched them play last weekend, and they've got something there. I think this is a breakthrough year for Ian McIntyre, and the Orange.
Good stuff, Keith. The Batsnake breaking down the top 25 right here on NSCAATV.com, the former coach of Georgetown. We still got some soccer here. 10 minutes left. The second overtime here at Corbett Soccer Stadium, which has definitely got some use here tonight. There was a game actually before the first game that we came on here with USF women taking on the Clemson women's soccer team. That game went 110 minutes with a 1-1 score. And this one here continues to roll on.
And once again, we call it just a one-shot game, but there's only been one shot on target in that first overtime period, and that came almost right away. South Florida could not put it away, having a good look at goal. And you think about that, the goalkeeper for Florida Gulf Coast, who came in the game, Danny George, that's really been about the only play he's had since he came in early in the second half.
Yeah, they haven't tested him, and you'd think you'd want to test a goalkeeper that comes in like that, but Just haven't had the opportunity. So here we go. Final 10 minutes for sure.
And I'll tell you something. It just occurred to me too. Nathan Ingram, who's was starting goalkeeper for Florida Gulf Coast, actually played every minute of every game last year for Florida Gulf Coast. So this is the first time he's been out of a game, in quite a while. And so something obviously happened.
Melosi sent across and almost scored there by Salorn Adabla, who started this thing. It'll be a corner kick here for USF, as the faithful would love to go crazy here. Sent back across. It's dangerous. It's in front of the goal. Is it another corner kick? It is. Yep. Another corner kick for USF. Mfeka with his left foot. Melosi is also over there. Mfeka with that left foot. High riser. Pinging around. This one could fall. Could get dialed. It does, but not even close by Dwayne Muckett from Trinidad.
They've tried some of these shots like that, but the technique is just ridiculous to try to put that on target. Leaning back on a ball that's coming down in the air. There's about only one place it can go, which is where it just did.
So, 8 minutes and 22 seconds left in this one.
And you can be sure, of course, both teams have used any player on the bench that they plan to use by now. The question will be whether they put anyone in the final 5 minutes of this overtime should we not get a goal.
Gooden on the turn. Jay comes out. We thought we might see Brenton Muhammad, but Jay has played very well. George Kiefer will quickly throw that in to Melosi. He'll find Mfeka, marked over there by Guillen. Guillen does a good job just standing up. Hard tackles all over the place, and they'll give this one back to USF. Is coming in there hard with the big man Jordan Gooden.
No, Coach Buhorn does not agree with that. I think he thought there was something else before that, or that it was just simply a hard tackle. When you heard it, you heard the ball, loud and clear.
So USF will switch it. Sweat. Trying to get a little give and go going with Thomas. Thomas goes backwards, though. He'll drop it all the way back to Webb. Six minutes and 30 seconds. Some final subs going to come in here for Coach Buhorn. Mfeka, what a great cutback. Mfeka could hit it with his left. He does. Guillen comes in. It's still bouncing around. It's still loose.
I tell you, that was a fantastic block by Guillen, actually, because Mfeka had really cut into that lane, and he had a clear shot at that far post, which he was going for. And Guillen gets in just in time to block that. Aaron Guillen, the sophomore from El Paso, Texas, played for FC Dallas Academy. His teammate was number 10, Chippy Robledo.
Five minutes and 30 seconds to go here in the second overtime. Knotted at 2. 3 subs trying to get in for Bob Buhorn's Eagles. Mfeka hoping to find Melosi. Here's Webb. Webb heads it back in the middle. It's one at the moment here, though, by Saravia. Now it'll be dropped quickly to Silva. Oh, my! And Silva, wow! From way downtown, did Jay get a piece of that one to save it? I think he did. I apologize for waking everybody up as well, as that
Well,
Absolutely scared myself there,
all right,
Keith.
I needed that, Dean. Thank you. But absolutely, and I'll tell you what, it's a good thing that that Jay was awake for that one, because that was quite a save he made there, and what a shot.
After that save by Jay, it's a corner kick, and looks like Epps is going to try to sneak back on here for George Kiefer. Wow, that one definitely came across loud at home on your computer screen. I do apologize, but what a save by Jay. Short corner here for the Eagles. Drop back to Vega. Vega set back across. Boy, you'll look back at this game. I know George Kiefer will, and he'll remember some big saves from Dallas J. Big saves, Keith.
Yeah, it's two of them. Two of them that just the same as the goals that have been scored. That either win the game for them or preserve the tie for them at least.
Guillen smartly asked the ball person over there for the ball after he knocked it out of bounds, just to get a little control of the pacing there. There's a hard foul, and they'll get that whistle. So now just like that the other way, this could be a great opportunity. Let's see if there's a card coming.
That's a great opportunity. I don't think there's any card there. No, that would be a red card, but a second yellow if it was. That was Vega. But it was just a really poor decision by Vega, to give up a free kick there. He gave a card to somebody. It looks like maybe to the South Florida player.
He's checking it now, and that may be 2. And
I saw him aim that card at 15.
At Epps. Okay,
yeah.
all right. Clock is stopped. 2:59. Now Guillen gets it.
33 Guillen. Okay.
Jocking around. Sharpie's in there.
Yeah, he's open at the back.
Oh, Webb missed it. Oh, my. Here comes the other way on the run. Sadois plays it into space. Still trying to stay with it. And they'll say he fouled, though, and it'll come right back. So 2 minutes and 45 seconds left.
And Sadois did foul him. It wasn't much, actually, and it was worth the try to see if you could win the ball there with, not get called, but not normally a dangerous place to give up a foul.
Here comes USF. The Bulls on the attack. Mfeka gets fouled right at the top of the 18. He'll get that call as well. 2 minutes and change. They'll stop the clock again.
Now he's out. That's if that's to Vega, that's a red. But because didn't Vega get a card before? Maybe that wasn't Vega.
Looked like he did give it to number 2, Vega.
But I would have thought. I thought Vega got a card in that hard tackle.
Let's see if the.
Yeah, I think the fourth official, Alex Ivanenko, is probably going to be reminding the official that was the second.
Yeah,
yellow.
here comes the red. Well done.
Yep.
So Louis Vega of Guatemala City is now out. So the final 2 minutes and 13, USF will play with a man advantage.
They're hoping they'll need no more than one touch on the ball right here to end this game. It was a perfect spot for a free kick. These free kicks that are just off the side of the D there, a few yards off the 18 where there's room for the ball to still get over the wall and dip. And this will be the challenge for the goalkeeper, seeing his first minutes for Florida Gulf Coast.
Danny George will probably take a look at a shot at good pace here from Husseini. Feka is also over there. Oh my, just over the crossbar was Husseini. He had the second goal for USF and almost snuck one in, Keith.
Yeah, he almost did. And like I said, that's just a perfect spot. You'd love to have free kicks there because it's still a place that you could go to either corner. You can flat. They had so many people in the wall that the keeper has to move over. That was the corner to pick. It just needs to be able to drop that ball a little bit. What a two free kick opportunities now. And by the way, Vega, I think, on the foul with both of them. So he's certainly got something he's going to need to work on a little bit.
Husseini heads that into space. And Guillen is there one more time, though, as Adebla can't get to it. And Feka back to Sharpie. That looked like a handball there. And indeed it is. 1:20 left. Can they switch it left side over to Sweat? Sweat is on it. Sweat will break you down. Sweat spins him around. Cleared out of there for the moment. What a move by Sweat, but they can't do anything with it. And now it looks like Florida Gulf Coast down a man will be content to try to hang on for the final 63 seconds.
Yeah, they're just trying to keep enough players back there, and they are on their heels, though. They're going to be very careful right now. They're just simply on their heels getting the ball out and not keeping a hold of it at all.
Sharpie. Second touch, far post. Epps is over there. Goalkeeper's out. Does it go in? No, it's cleared off the line. And let's see, corner kick, quick corner kick, right off the bat. The Bulls.
Good defending.
This will stay with USF. And Feka somehow keeps it alive. And looked like it was a little bit of an infraction on the throw-in. Let's see if there's a card there.
Well, first of all, I'm surprised they got the throw that way. It looks like the referee's overruling it because that ball clearly had come off of. Well, now we got something going on in the corner, too.
And now a lot of pushing and shoving as this one starting to get a little bit crazy.
Well, not only that,
20 seconds to go.
You've got these. You got the players that were warming up for South Florida. One of them going into that, and you can't have that. It's like leaving the bench. And this all started because they got the throw-in wrong to begin with.
And now there's still some pushing and shoving going on. Bob Butorn is over there as well.
Well, here's the thing. Every one of the South Florida players that is not supposed to be on the field technically could be sent off because they can't leave the bench and they can't leave the technical area. Because, as you know, that's when people think that somebody's coming out to do something and things escalate.
Now George Kiefer wants to know what's going on as well. There's 23 seconds left.
Yeah. Well, what's going on is that the referee made the right call. The assistant referee didn't. The assistant referee gave the throw into South Florida. It was clearly off of South Florida.
Referee asking the USF players to get inside the box.
No, it's rightly so. I mean, this is the type of thing, if they wanted to review it, they look at all those players and, they can't leave that area, and go into what's going on the field.
Foul, and now 21 seconds. Sharpie earns the foul. We're now down to 15 seconds. This will be the last opportunity.
10, 9, 8, 7.
And that will absolutely cap it. And can you believe it? After 120 minutes here, the first two Division I games on NSCAA TV, they both go overtime. Your final score, USF 2, Florida Gulf Coast 2.
Yeah, Dean, I'll tell you once again, I think a fair result, both of the ties, and credit to Bob Budhorn and George Kiefer putting out teams that I think are going to be very exciting to watch this year. Two teams we will see in good chance in the playoffs at the end of the season.
I want to thank the team from Turbo Sports, Chris Bird from the NSCAA. My broadcast partner is Keith Tabatsik. I'm Dean Linke. Your final score one more time from Corbett Soccer Stadium on the campus of USF. It is USF 2 and Florida Gulf Coast 2, and you saw it all right here on NSCAATV.com. As we remind you that registration for the 2014 NSCAA convention is now open. Join 10,000 of your coaching peers for soccer's biggest party this January 15 through 19 in Philadelphia. We guarantee that you'll learn something new from the world's best clinicians and gain new connections by attending one of the many networking socials. You can even get your coaching diplomas during the week. Visit nscaa.com for more details.
Wow, Dean. Dean?
Wow, that's all you
Yes,
say.
sir.
Chris left.
What is stupid stuff in this corner there? I mean, every one of those South Florida players that came off the bench in trouble. Well, they should be. They should be.
Can we go, or do you need to hang
No,
around?
we can go. Make sure you got everything.